the strongest technician of the Hidden Sand Village. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26, Only Worth D-Level. Ibizo originally planned to further evaluate Shiraishi, but he did not expect that Shiraishi would not hesitate to use burning powder to develop cells in his arm in order to improve his strength, which almost caused his entire arm to become useless. Sunagakure's medical ninjutsu system is not as powerful as Konoha's. The reattached arm ninjutsu seals and connections are not as powerful as Tsunade, the top medical ninjutsu master, so Ibizo is extremely concerned about Shiraishi's condition point. In order to avoid Shiraishi's unrealistic risk-taking approach, Ibizo had to put in the effort to develop a second attribute for Shiraishi. I'll give you a technique first and see if you can master it before leaving. Ibizo gave Shiraishi a D-level ninjutsu, Fengwu, to test Shiraishi's understanding and mastery of the technique on the spot. Although Fengwu did not consume much chakra, it extremely tested Shiraishi's control point. The main purpose is to strengthen the control of the wind flow direction and cooperate with other wind escape techniques to attack. Shiraishi's beast wave palm and tornado knife can both be used for blessing attacks. After simply memorizing the order of the seals and the key points of the technique, Shiraishi's brain briefly organized and thought, and quickly formed the seals with both hands. Wind release, wind dance, wind, and waves quickly rolled up around him, and Shiraishi was feeling the changes in the wind. He cleverly executed a dance practice attack with a silver knife in his hand, and his blue coat was dancing, looking extremely free and easy. The chakra control ability is quite good, and he is worthy of being a child who has climbed trees and walked on water beforehand. Regarding the development of other attributes of chakra, I will find a solution for you here. During this period, you are not allowed to continue to adopt such dangerous practices. Worried that Shiraishi will be distracted and continue to do this kind of self-mutilation, Ibizo very carefully warned Shiraishi not to continue using burning powder. I believe in master. After simply watching Shiraishi leave, Chiyo said with a smile, "This child is not simple at all. He has so many ideas, like a cunning fox." Although Shiraishi tried his best to conceal it, Ibizo and Chiyo, who were both smart people, understood Shiraishi's little moves after the initial panic. However, as they were older, they didn't mind Shiraishi's little moves, and even vaguely thought that the kid was quite smart. It's understandable that he pursues becoming stronger. In an environment like Sunagakure, if you don't show your worth, you will only become a stepping stone for others in the future. The human heart is very sinister. Ibizo has already understood Shiraishi's methods and calculations after thinking about it. However, he and Chiyo are both about to die. For this little guy, a grandson or even a great-grandson, to become stronger in such an extreme way, I feel more. It's a compassionate attitude. As the two of them got older, they naturally began to soften their hearts. Unlike 10 years ago, if they encountered such a thoughtful kid, the two old guys would not consider anything else and just drive them away. Now Chiyo and Ibizo will think about why he insists on using such methods, and the more they think about it, the more distressed they become. As long as he does not betray Sunagakure and stick to his bottom line, the two old men are willing to give Shiraishi a hand. The only way to conduct that kind of special training is to leave the village. Granny Chiyo was a little worried about Ibizo. Can your body hold up? Don't worry. In the Kingdom of Wind, except for your precious grandson, there is really no threat to anyone else. When the red sand scorpion was mentioned, Granny Chiyo's expression turned ugly. Tell me, what happened to the third generation? It should be Danzo who did it. Seeing his brother insisting that Danzo was the culprit, Chiyo suddenly felt helpless and kicked Ibizo in the back. You are also an old fox. After leaving Shiraishi, where Ibizo lived, he did not go back directly, but went straight to Erakore's home point as one of the big families in Sunagakure village. The Erakore family also lives in the Oasis Ring area, and the location is also very good. Compared with the low-key Ibizo and Chiyo, the Erakore family's gate is very grand, and there are several patrolling family ninjas. Guarded here. The clothes Shiraishi wore today were very casual. Although Ebi's outside was not formal before, several of the guardian ninjas of the Iroquois family were very dissatisfied with the way Shiraishi dressed when he visited. Civilians are civilians and have no concept of etiquette. It is said that he does not have a surname yet. How can I greet him when he comes in later? Ordinary civilians in this world do not have surnames. If you want to obtain a surname, you must obtain a surname from the Kingdom of Wind. Of course, the powerful blood family has had a family emblem and surname since ancient times, and does not need a surname to be given by a daimyo. Although Iroquois Meru wanted to take Shiraishi into the main entrance, according to family rules, civilians could only use the rear side door, and were restricted to a very narrow area. Iroquois, who could not compete with the family rules, was very embarrassed to bring Shiraishi in from the side. There were many family servants resting in the rest area inside the side door. Iroquois and Shiraishi found a remote corner. I'm sorry, father said that he can't create a pass for you. He thinks this technique is only a D-level fire escape technique. The C-level fire escape spark that Shiraishi gave to Iroquois before was not worth the value of C-level ninjutsu in the eyes of Iroquois' father, so he directly rejected the deal and asked Iroquois to directly engrave a copy of the spark technique and keep it, and then gave away the original Shiraishi scroll return point. In order to prevent Shiraishi from being angry, Iroquois secretly hid it from his father and gave Shiraishi a reward equivalent to a B-level mission as compensation for the failure of the transaction. Its value is C-level because it has follow-up development value, and in fact it is my own ninjutsu. Shiraishi patiently explained why this spark technique was a C-level ninjutsu, but Iroquois actually had no intention of listening anymore. He didn't understand these concepts at all, and he felt that Shiraishi just didn't want to give up the deal. You are a rogue enough. You can claim to have created your own ninjutsu and blow it from D-level to C-level. It's really awesome. In fact, this jutsu is completely imitated by the Uchiha family's fire escape, Yamaji. Ryoko's voice sounded again. Shiraishi turned to look at Iroquois, who said awkwardly, "She is my cousin." Everything is clear. If she was not born into a big family, how could she have become a disciple of the Red Sand Scorpion? How could she have survived safely after the Red Sand Scorpion rebelled against the village? And judging from her behavior in making things difficult for her last time, this female jounin emotional intelligence is not that great. Now that he understood the origin of Yamaji Ryoko, Shiraishi figured it out. Moreover, this female jounin probably had a lot to do with the failure of the ninjutsu transaction. Then, I take my leave. Thinking of this, Shiraishi gave up communication. After accepting the compensation from Iroquois, he turned around and glanced at Yamaji Ryoko. He didn't want to say anything to this stupid woman and left directly through the side door. Genius, are you giving up now? Maybe I can buy your ninjutsu. No need. Your level can only reach D level with this ninjutsu. After Beishi said something coldly, he disappeared from the sight of the two people without looking back. Yamaji Ryoko's expression changed. She was about to go up and teach this genin a lesson, but was stopped by Iroquois' father, who didn't know when he appeared. He is already a disciple of Ibizo. He cannot be provoked casually. Just refuse the transaction. Chapter 27. Iroquois family. Shiraishi left, leaving only a very embarrassed Iroquois Meru. Father, Shiraishi has now become a disciple of Elder Ibizo. Why do you still reject him like this? Iroquois Meru couldn't understand his father's behavior at all. The Elder Council was so powerful that even the Fourth Kazekage Rasa had to give way to him. With such a powerful force, why did his father refuse to befriend Shiraishi, who was already a member of the Elder Council? As a patriarch of the Iroquois family, Iroquois Meru's father, Iroquois Rakata, said with a solemn expression, "The three sand escape veins are the core of the family's continuation. You have to remember this. Iroquois, Yamaji, and the Luo family all belong to the sand release 3 lines of Sunagakure village. They have a similar relationship with an Akacho of Konohagakure village, and have had an alliance for countless years. As relatives of the daimyo family of the Land of Wind, the 3 lines of talent are come out in large numbers among them. The Shanlu family has a 3rd generation Kazekage, and the Luo family has a 4th generation Kazekage. In addition, the three bloodlines are related to the daimyo of the Kingdom of Wind, so they constitute the most noble bloodline of Shadun Point precisely. Because of their long history and noble bloodline, they are very arrogant at heart, even if they face the Sunagakure elders Ibizo. Chiyo's mother-in-law is a disciple left by the second generation Kazekage. She comes from an ordinary little ninja family, which is very different from the third and fourth generation Kazekage's bloodline point compared with the sharp opposition between the direct elders of Konoha's second generation Hokage and famous families such as the Uchiha family. Sunagakure village is relatively gentle. The elders even gave up the throne of the Kazekage and let the strong man of the Sandan family serve as the Kazekage. Chiyo and Ibizo's conciliatory attitude on these matters made the two sides peaceful. Even after the accident of the third Kazekage, the elders still supported Rasa from the three major families as the Kazekage point, but everything changed when Shiraishi revealed that the cause of death of the Red Sand Scorpion and the third Kazekage was somewhat ambiguous. The relationship between the two parties is invisibly broken. As a third generation disciple, it is completely impossible for the fourth generation Kazekage to say that he has no thoughts about the elders, but now Sunagakure village cannot fight among itself. This time Ye Cang casually left Platicadon Mountain. He originally thought that Eluosha would be very angry and have a conflict with her, but it turned out that Eluosha no longer cared about it after deducting part of Ye Cang's mission reward. The relationship between the two suddenly eased, and Eluosha even vaguely wanted to win over Ye Cang, making the situation at the top of Sunagakure become more and more strange. The refusal to trade with Shiraishi was done to the fourth Kazekage and the elders, expressing his family's position. It also strengthens the status of the Iroquois family and the Kazekage's heart. Compared to the other two families that have produced Kazekage, Iroquois Amaru's father really hopes that his son can become the next generation of Kazekage. A disciple of Ibizo is a disciple of the fourth Kazekage worth anything. Yamaji Riko said mockingly that the Iroquois family has been in contact with Rasa during this period regarding Iroquois Meru's apprenticeship with the fourth Kazekage. Today's rejection of Shiraishi by the Iroquois family is more of a gesture. When Shiraishi stepped out of the Iroquois family, he had to admire the shamelessness of these big families. He had given the technique to them for so long and still refused to do so. Was his fire escape technique given to the Iroquois family in vain? This kind of routines and operations really gave Shiraishi a lot of experience. The Iroquois family refused to trade, but their attitude was high and there was no other action. It was more like a certain attitude or a firm stance. Shiraishi was not very clear about the structure of Sunagakure's top management. He originally planned to collect more books and take pictures before leaving with Ibizo. Scanning, now only give up. Originally, only Shiraishi and Iroquois Meru knew about this transaction, but after some people spread the news, all senior executives of Sunagakure knew about this interesting fact. Compared with Chiyo's anger at the Iroquois family's attitude, Ibizo was more curious about Shiraishi's self-created sea-level fire escape technique. So far, Shiraishi's self-created ninjutsu all start with sea-level escape techniques, and the whirlwind sword, telekinesis, and sparks are all sea-level. Among them, the development of telekinesis has proven to be a very powerful value. There are many subsequent abilities developed from the release of telekinesis. The senior management of Sunagakure and the elder group are planning to teach some chakra control abilities to precise jounin for training. The principle of sparks is very simple. It seems to be no different from the traditional low-level fire escape in the ninja world. But in fact, according to Shiraishi's concept, sparks not only release the fire attribute of chakra into sparks, but also have the function of laying the foundation for advanced fire escape ninjutsu. Today, when Ibizo was explaining some of the principles to Shiraishi at home, he suddenly asked Shiraishi about sea-level fire escape. Unexpectedly, Shiraishi directly told him that he could evolve advanced fire escape. Closing the book in his hand, Ibizo pinched Shiraishi's little broken head. High-level fire escape technique. Are you fooling my old man? It's still being conceived. However, after Shiraishi briefly explained a few concepts and ideas, Ibizo also became a little skeptical about the existence of higher-level fire escape techniques. Now that this matter was mentioned, Ibizo also expressed his attitude. The Iroquois family is not the only one who can get the pass to the Sunagakure library. After Ibizo finished speaking, he threw Chiyo's pass directly over, making Chiyo glare at his brother with big eyes and small eyes. Sister, you don't like to see this anyway, you. Old guy is looking for a beating. Chiyo's fishing rod was quickly drawn out, and countless chakra lines were projected out. Yu reading www.ukanshu. Net the speed was so fast that Shiraishi's expression changed. I saw chakra lines dancing in the air all over the sky, giving people a dazzling feeling. Is this the strength of a strong man? A single shot of a chakra line gives people a feeling of being undefinitionable. Ibizo is very naughty, like a flexible monkey, quickly evading and escaping Chiyo's chakra line offensive. Sister, your chakra line control is still so powerful, your speed and control are just right, but there are a few questions I don't quite understand. As if he really didn't understand Chiyo's puppetry, Ibizo smiled and asked several questions that Shiraishi had been confused about for a long time. Chiyo's eyes widened even more, and she secretly cursed her brother for not accepting him as an apprentice, but once he accepted him, he would really treat him as a treasure. He even makes up his own mind. However, Chiyo also attaches great importance to the existence of family ties. Since Ibizo worked so hard, Chiyo did not hesitate to give pointers and explain many problems one by one, making Shiraishi understand many of the key issues at once. In 3 days, we are ready to leave the village for practice. Shiraishi still had 3 days left in Sunagakure village, but as soon as he obtained the pass, Shiraishi went directly to the direction of Sunagakure library. Under the envious eyes of the guard at the door, Shiraishi swiped Chiyo Granny's pass and entered the library directly. The giant Sunagakure library occupies a large area, but there are not many real readers. Except for the librarian, there are only 2 or 3 ninjas who are checking the information on their own. Have you heard that the 4th Kazekage is planning to recruit disciples himself? In addition to the current era Komaru, he is also willing to recruit a disciple. It seems that many newcomers are planning to sign up. After hearing the news, Shiraishi put down the book in his hand, and the back of a beautiful girl appeared in his mind. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28. Someone at home is preparing. Jounin's chakra control ability and understanding of jutsu are among the best among his peers. All he lacks is a good master. Ye Cang came to see her yesterday and said that she was returning to Platikadon Mountain this time and was going to take Jounin and Cheng Yuanji away with a focus on strengthening Jounin's practice guidance point. Although Hagiwara was taking care of him, Shiraishi still didn't trust her and Shirogakiji Tsukasa, so he took advantage of this opportunity for the 4th Kazekage to recruit apprentices. Hoping to push them to the 4th Kazekage's side. However, Shiraishi thought about it for a while and then gave up. After all, Jounin and Ye Cang already had a deep master-disciple relationship, which was even a bit like a family relationship. Shiraishi couldn't bear to make Jounin feel uncomfortable. In addition to these, Ye Cang also gave Shiraishi a scroll, which contains Ye Cang's experience in learning basic fire escape when he was young. In fact, Ye Cang's burning escape is mainly composed of wind attribute chakra and fire attribute chakra, so in terms of fire escape, Ye Cang she also has her own unique insights. This scroll is very precious, at least the content cannot be seen in ordinary libraries or databases. The reason why Ye Cang gave Shiraishi the scroll was mainly because she learned about his deal with the Iroquois family. Although she was very angry, the only thing that could be done was to give Shiraishi the scroll. Feeling the warmth of the scroll, Shiraishi quickly gave up the matter of dismantling the scroll and Ye Cang and continued to concentrate on scanning the images and texts of the materials in the entire library. It has to be said that the storage capacity displayed in these glasses is very large. After Shiraishi scanned it for a whole day, it only occupied about 1% of the entire storage space. Simply search for a keyword, and a large amount of various information and related content will appear on the projected screen. Compared with searching through books by yourself, the search function in the glasses is very powerful. The librarian handed back the pass in his hand very politely. The librarian looked at Shiraishi very curiously. The child just looked at the names of every book in the bookshelf without even flipping through it. He wandered around all afternoon. What kind of book are you looking for? I can help you search for it. It's not needed for now. Thank you for your concern. In the Chingyuan family's ninja tool workshop, Chingyuan's father is still working on transforming deep sea mithril. However, the whole process is very labor intensive and the technical difficulty is too high, so polishing often fails. Shitao, is your hand okay? The last time Shiraishi injected burning powder so excitingly that almost his entire arm was burned, which made Shirogakiji go crazy for Shiraishi. At the same time, he couldn't help but feel more sorry for his companion. In order to improve his strength, this guy really worked hard. It's okay, it's just that the test failed. The failure of the burning powder made Shiraishi not anxious about the deep sea mithril weapons. Today he came to Shirogakiji's house, mainly to polish the silver sword point after this period of use. Shiraishi's silver sword had too many scratches on it, and it felt like it would collapse at any time. So Shiraishi picked up the silver sword in his hand, and handed it to Shirogakiji's father, Shirogakiji Hayabusa, who also made his own request. Uncle, this time the silver knife. I wonder if I can add some deep sea mithril to enhance the hardness and toughness. Sure. Hearing that Shiraishi's request was this, Shirogakiji Hayabusa breathed a sigh of relief. One of the main uses of deep sea mithril in the ninja world is to increase the strength and toughness of weapons. As long as it is not made into a weapon alone, it will be fine. It has to be said that the weapons Shiraishi asked to make were too abstract and not even remotely difficult. The craftsmanship of the Shirogakiji family is very exquisite. Shirogakiji Hayabusa took Shiraishi's silver knife. After more than 2 hours of repair and improvement, a brand new silver long knife appeared in front of Shiraishi. The moment he held the silver knife, Shiraishi's whole body temperament suddenly changed. Shirogakiji smiled. Are you satisfied? Thanks. When Shiraishi took back the silver knife and took out the funds to pay, Shirogakiji looked at Shiraishi a little worried. Don't pay too much attention to the affairs of the Iroquois family. After all, they are one of the 3 sand escape lineages. Even if they face the elders, they will be the same arrogance. Regarding the history and ins and outs of the Iroquois family, after Shiraishi collected all the books in the Sunagakure library, he simply searched and found all the relevant information. Naturally, he became clear about the history of the family. Looking at Shiraishi's retreating back, Shirogakiji Shunsu suddenly looked at his son. How are you doing with your telekinesis training? When Shiraishi's self-created telekinesis technique was mentioned, Shirogakiji felt a headache. It was too difficult to improve and develop his mental power. At present, he could only simply release it, but even so, his ability to control the puppets improved by 1 steps. Since Shiraishi's telekinesis was handed over to Sunagakure, and the feedback from the Battle of Quicksand in the Valley, Sunagakure senior management realized the value of telekinesis, so some family ninjas also began to practice and strengthen telekinesis. The puppetry skills of the Chingyuan family have been greatly improved through the strengthening of telekinesis. In addition, Shirogakiji Shunji is not a rigid family leader, so he keeps an eye on urging Shirogakiji to strengthen his telekinesis every day. Soon, you will follow Ye Cang to Platikadon Mountain. Master these abilities. Reading www.ukanshu.net will be of great help to your battlefield survivability. I understand, father. After returning to his home, the whole house was cleaned, but there were still more than 6 packages of various sizes on Shiraishi's desk. It contains various clothes, daily necessities, and a change of clothes that Maki prepared for Shiraishi. Considering that Shiraishi would not be in the village for a while, Maki also prepared a headscarf with Sunagakure characteristics for Shiraishi, as well as various medicines. After Jounin finished these things, he left a note for Shiraishi with various daily concerns and the situation in each package. However, Shiraishi's attention did not seem to be on these instructions. Unexpectedly, his eyes were entirely on Jounin's handwriting. After packing his luggage, Ibizo almost laughed when he saw Shiraishi carrying 6 large packages. How could you prepare so many things? I didn't expect that my Ibizo apprentice has such a strong cooking ability. Someone at home prepared it. Granny, Chihaya laughed loudly. Yes, yes, it seems that Zyobeishi will never be single for the rest of his life, right, brother, Ibizo? The unexpected word stimulated Ibizo, who had been single for many years during the 1-month training. Ibizo mainly provided Shiraishi with further training guidance, mainly starting from the development of the second attribute. Ibizo gave Shiraishi a chakra test paper to confirm Shiraishi's attributes. Chakra test strips can help you detect your current situation. This is Shiraishi's first time coming into contact with chakra test strips. In the past, his own chakra attributes were detected and identified through special instruments conducted by school teachers the moment Shiraishi held the test paper. This seemingly ordinary chakra test paper began to undergo special changes. Chapter 29. Calculations and Intentions. The chakra test paper showed that Shiraishi still had a single wind attribute. This result was not surprising at all. But Ibizo's test was not over yet. He took out a potion to test the affinity between Shiraishi and other attributes. The development of the second attribute is carried out one by one, based on your affinity for other attributes. For the shinobi of Sunagakure, according to the geographical environment of our country, the main second affinity attribute is the earth attribute. Ibizo put the chakra test paper into a special potion, and a certain amount of discoloration appeared on its surface. Depending on the concentration, Ibizo arranged the chakra attributes with the highest affinity for Shiraishi one by one. Except for the wind attribute point, Shiraishi quickly looked at the mutated colors and the attributes displayed in the corresponding descriptions, which were earth, water, fire, thunder. Earth and water have the same affinity concentration, while fire has a slightly lower affinity. This is because you use explosive energy to stimulate your arms. In fact, the affinity of fire attributes may not be as good as that of thunder attributes. For now, this is the order. Ibizo complained harshly to Shiraishi. The strange test of injecting burning heat into the arm only improved the affinity a little after a long time, which was not as good as the two attributes of earth and water. What kind of properties are you planning to develop? Regarding the issue of attribute transformation and development, since Ibizo had already explored it, Shiraishi gave up his past ideas and asked the learned old man directly, why not consider developing both types together? Ibizo's rhetorical question made Shiraishi think deeply, and he quickly understood the point of the question. At the same time, Ibizo also announced that the two of them would go to the training location, the Quicksand Valley. Quicksand Valley, the place where Shiraishi became famous in the first battle, where he successfully killed 3 rebel ninjas, one of whom was a subordinate of the Red Sand Scorpion Point, as the most famous and dangerous place in the Kingdom of Wind. The quicksand on both sides of the valley is very dangerous. It is accompanied by special quicksand swamps all year round. Most people will be swallowed up if they step into it accidentally. The inner river valley is also a swamp and quagmire filled with all kinds of stench, and ordinary creatures cannot survive here. The rebel ninja that were eliminated last time were only active in the second half of the quicksand river valley. The terrifying stench of the quagmire and the outer quicksand swamp in the first half were almost a nightmare for most ninjas. Did you choose Lineage River Valley because of the overall environment? Ibizo smiled and showed a mischievous look. The effect of developing two attributes at the same time is actually better. This is also a misunderstanding of many people. As long as there is enough affinity, simultaneous development will not be a problem. Ibizo explained to Shiraishi. While embarking on the journey to the Lineage River Valley point, along the way, Shiraishi reluctantly followed Ibizo with weights, but the journey was not boring, because Ibizo had already started teaching some basic courses of his own from the environment and climate of each country to the secret ninjutsu or blood inheritance characteristics of each major family in the ninja world. Ibizo told Shiraishi everything. When he mentioned Konoha in the country of fire, Ibizo's tone contained a hint of envy and helplessness. With such a behemoth as a neighbor, the country of wind was under great pressure. Konoha and the country of fire are located at the crossroads of transportation, connecting the north and the south. The unique geographical location has allowed the country of fire to gather a large number of talents and resources, becoming the country with the most powerful military among the 5 major countries. Today's third generation Hokage is in power, which is exactly the period when Konoha is at its peak. The young and strong third generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen is in the light, and Danzo is in the dark combination. creating the glory of Konoha and the sorrow of other ninja villages. The events of the third generation have prevented us from forming an alliance with Konoha. However, Iwagakure and Shirogakure have a large number of troops on our border. If we want to protect Sunagakure village, we must send troops to revenge Konoha in exchange for their alliance. Compared with Konoha, which is surrounded by enemies on all sides and can handle it with ease, Sunagakure feels more pressure when fighting on two sides. Shirogakure Iwagakure is stronger than Sunagakure. Given the lesser of two evils, Sunagakure had no choice but to send troops against Konoha. Point regarding the war between Sunagakure and Konoha, Shiraishi couldn't understand the brain circuits of Sunagakure's senior management, so when Ebizo mentioned this matter, he finally couldn't help but said, the certainty of defeating Konoha shouldn't be big. Konoha, the strongest of the 5 great ninja villages, faced off against Sunagakure, who was almost at the bottom. No matter how you look at the disparity in strength, this was the Kakayo Mountain War initiated by Sunagakure. Ebizo did not answer Shiraishi's question directly, but looked to the sky in the distance. Because the decisive battle on Mount Kakayo begins, there should be 1 to 2 years left. Konoha gives us time, and we give Konoha time. The moment this answer was spoken, Shiraishi quickly understood the true intentions of the senior management of Sunagakure. Although the war between Sunagakure and Konoha was tense, the confrontation between the two sides had still stayed at a very restrained rhythm until they arrived at Mount Kakayo. Orochimaru was not in good condition, and sooner the hands are only responsible for providing medical treatment. On the other side of Cheyenne, Ye Cang returned to the village once to deal with his own affairs. Reading www.ukanshu.net did not see any follow-up actions from Konoha. Both sides were at war with each other, as if they were about to engage in a life and death battle. In fact, they were deliberately trying to slow down the outbreak of the Third Ninja War. Iwagakure and Shirogakure's plan is for the two sides to fight to a certain extent and take action. So how about Konoha and Sunagakure dragging them out for a few years? From the beginning, Konoha and Sunagakure have placed their main opponents on Shirogakure and Iwagakure. The elder group and the 2 generations of Kazekage have very unified opinions on this matter. Later, the incident of the Third Kazekage resulted in the faction within Sunagakure that was hostile to Konoha taking the lead in the main battle. Coupled with the threats from Iwagakure and Shirogakure, in the end Sunagakure could only engage in a strange state of war with Konoha on Mount Kakayo. Things, in the ninja world, require a comprehensive judgment. Sometimes the news and intelligence as well as a certain atmosphere, may just be deliberately promoted by some people. In your eyes, it is stupid for Sunagakure to directly provoke Konoha, but in fact these stupidities are a means to conceal the true intentions. The huge map of the Kingdom of Wind was engraved in Shiraishi's mind. Ebizo's suggestion made Shiraishi suddenly enlightened. The wind blew on Ebizo's body, revealing the old man's profound calculations. If you carefully analyze the entire map layout, you will find that, whether it is the Quicksand River Valley, the Enlightenment Mountains, or the various mission areas to expel thieves and rebel ninjas, they are mainly concentrated near the border between Iwagakure and Shirogakure. From the beginning, Sunagakure and Konoha have been engaged in a tacit war, and both sides have always been on guard against these two families. But for Konoha, they also have to be prepared for a sneak attack from behind by a Shirogakure family. The pattern of the Third Ninja World War was actually formed before the Third Kazekage's accident, and Ebizo, as the #1 think tank in the Elders group, personally promoted the process of this matter. I have to say that my master is really cunning. Chapter 30, Earth Escape Earth-style 4-square formation. Coming to the Quicksand River Valley again, this place was once one of the Red Sand Scorpion's backup bases. All the remaining facilities were taken away and sealed by Sunagakure. Ebizo looked at the scene in front of him, thoughts flashing in his eyes. The problem of the Red Sand Scorpion has always been a knot in Chiyo's mind. Although he wanted to share this trouble with his sister, his stubborn sister would never let Ebizo get too involved in this matter, and this Shiraishi is somewhat similar to the Red Sand Scorpion when he was young. He only hopes that he can guide him on the right path, instead of falling into a tragic misstep like the Red Sand Scorpion. Ebizo, who had returned to his normal mood, gently squeezed a handful of sand, and then piled it into 4 directions. Then Ibizo quickly formed a seal with his hands. Earth release, earth style square formation. In an instant, a giant clay city wall appeared below the entire quicksand valley, surrounding the white stones. Ibizo leapt up and stood on the height of the clay city wall, showing a trademark mischievous smile. Let the practice begin. During the journey to the quicksand river valley, Beishi didn't even have time to eat. Now he went directly to special training to let Beishi learn the old man's different routines. The mudslides continued to pour in, and Shiraishi's mental power emerged from all over his body. In the process of cleverly blocking these substances, he began to adapt to the environment and climate here. But Ibizo's technique did not seem to be that simple. As countless dark soil exuded a strange smell. The 4 piles of sand that had been squeezed by Ibizo began to change little by little, and finally turned into 4 teenagers who looked exactly like Shiraishi. Facing Shiraishi from 4 angles, Shiraishi raised his head and looked at Ibizo, who had already picked up a lunchbox and started eating. Don't look at me like that. My request is very simple. You must not be contaminated with the soil, and you must suppress the 4 clay figurine clones. In an instant, Beishi, the first clay figurine, took the lead in attacking. He twisted his body strangely, like a cannonball from a barrel, and blasted towards Beishi. The speed was so fast that one could feel the sound shaking in terror. Shiraishi sensed the opponent's attack with his telepathy and quickly took out the silver knife in his hand, drawing a gorgeous arc. Under the light, he cut it down instantly. However, a special ninja mark appeared on the clayman's arm, which directly produced a small mud shield, blocking Shiraishi's attack point. Although he is not a puppet master, Ibizo's fighting style is influenced by Chihyo, and he also uses control of group battles as his main method. Seeing Shiraishi's surprised look, Ibizo's lips raised even more. This brat underestimated his own technique. The earth flow square formation is a very powerful siege and fighting technique. It's not particularly powerful at the moment. The clay figurine's combat response IQ not high either. During the stalemate stage, the second clay figurine Shiraishi also started to take action. The bursting sound of airflow and shadow produced by his body arrived at the same time, and the special water flow ripples produced by his palms were directly aimed at Shiraishi. Shiraishi's body sank, and the whirlwind knife produced by his palm counterattacked, cutting off the clay figure's right arm. However, the clay figure remained unmoved. Countless water jets shot out, connecting with the mudslide on the ground, and turned into a new arm. The core of the technique is still the controller Ibizo. The Toryushabum technique is Ibizo's famous battle formation technique. I didn't expect that you can also train like this to speed up the emergence of your own chakra attributes. The first clay figurine that appeared was constantly fighting with the white stone silver knife, which indicates that its main attribute is earth. Another clay figurine had its arm cut off several times by a whirlwind knife, but it relied on water flow to connect it many times, which means it is constructed with water attributes at this time. The third clay figurine took action, starting with his fist, which was like detonating a small yield bomb. The shock wave encircled the airflow and violently surged towards Shiraishi, trying to tear his body apart. The clay figurine's fist in front of him had a vague sense of powerful impact. Shiraishi was very keen and took a few steps back. In the process of focusing a little bit of his mind, he started to move at a high speed. As it fire, Beishi, who was dancing wildly with a weapon, became more and more sharp with his sword skills. He stabbed the first clayman's body with one knife, but saw that the clayman's body turned into countless mudslides and dissipated, and then condensed and formed again in another area. Troublesome ability. Without attacking the caster, there is no way to break the formation. Sensing Shiraishi's gaze, Ibizo ate a piece of barbecue and glared at Shiraishi. You can't leave here. If you attack me, you will fail. The second clay figure also attacked at the same time. Countless water flows turned into whips and were drawn out. Beishi's eyes quickly released his telepathy, shattering the water flow. During the process, Beishi appeared in front of the second clay figure at some unknown time, and the whirlwind knife on his palm cut like crazy out. The speed and power of the outward release of telekinesis have increased again. Sure enough, this is a very magical technique. The fighting style of the little guy below is actually a little different from the current ninja world, and his movement habits are also different. However, Ibizo has no idea of correcting him, and even thinks that correcting it will affect Shiraishi's future development path. With a bang, the second clay figurine disintegrated, and a ball of water produced on its body quickly returned to the fourth clay figurine, which had been motionless. Kanshu www.ukanshu.net. Ibizo smiled happily when he saw this scene. It's good to be able to detect the key to the connection between the clay figurine and my technique, but unfortunately this is just the beginning. Shiraishi is an extremely good ninja in his battle response and strategic response, especially when facing such a strange formation. He took his time to decipher the special ability of one of the clay figures. After cracking one of them, Shiraishi locked his eyes on the first clay figurine. With the high-speed movement fully activated, he turned into a fast shadow and appeared in front of the opponent. During the process of locking with external telekinesis, the silver knife directly penetrated the clay figurine Shiraishi's skull. Infused with powerful wind escape energy, the clayman's head suddenly exploded. As a ball of black soil energy was shot out, Beishi grabbed his hands with telekinesis and tried to crush the energy. However, he saw that the clayman who had been motionless suddenly moved. A similar whirlwind knife was projected out, blocking Beishi's attack. At the same time, it perfectly absorbed the energy of the dark soil. There were only two clay figures left on the scene, but Shiraishi unexpectedly found that his opponent was more difficult to deal with. Shiraishi fought the claymen in a special simulation environment, all under Ibizo's observation. However, Shiraishi made rapid progress. At least in the first battle today, he could successfully crack the key points of the two claymen. However, the remaining two clay figures are not easy to deal with. One contains special fire escape explosive power, and the other can absorb the power of his companions to strengthen himself. As long as Ibizo does not stop using the spell, the clay figures can continue to fight Shiraishi. Unless Shiraishi can destroy all the key points on the clay figure with one knife at the same time. I originally thought that Shiraishi would need a week to complete this special training. Considering that the power of telekinesis is so impressive, it should be shortened to 4 days to crack this technique. Suddenly, Shiraishi below made a move that surprised Ibizo. Chapter 31, Ibizo's Medicine Jar. The difficult part of the earth flow square formation was the last clay figure who absorbed the remaining 3 attributes. Shiraishi quickly analyzed the situation in front of him and made a quick judgment. The silver knife in his hand spread out with a powerful light in midair. Shiraishi absorbed his telekinesis under his feet, and at the moment when he moved at high speed, his body seemed to be suspended in midair, and the faint light emitted by his telekinesis seemed to be like a pair of wings dancing intertwined, leaving Ibizo stunned. Is this the actual effect of releasing mental power? Although he had read the records before, this was the first time for Ibizo to see Shiraishi expressing his telekinesis like this. However, the test was not over. Ibizo turned the seals with his hands, and the walls of the mudslide began to become thicker and thicker. The entire earth flow square formation changed. The clay figure who previously controlled the fire escape quickly rotted, and a ball of fire poured into the body of the last clay figure. The combination of the 4 attributes caused the clayman's whole body to explode, and the violent chakra storm made it impossible for Shiraishi to effectively control his telekinesis, and he was forced to fall to the ground. However, Shiraishi still controlled his own chakra to avoid getting caught in the mudslide below. The appearance of the clay figure in front of him became clearer and clearer, and the body showed a special mudslide armor protection process. The air around him clenched his fists and suddenly became dense. The last clay figure slowly sank down and waved his right fist on the spot. His arms stretched out rapidly, his fists pulled, and he slid forward in a roar, as fast as a high-speed train, flashing in front of Shiraishi. With violent speed, he carried the strongest punch directly to the white stone facade. During the whole process, the clayman's whole body exploded with very strong light, like a ignited torch with a brush, dragging out powerful chakra energy waves in midair, stirring out a terrible loud noise. Wind escape, fire escape, the use of 2 chakra attributes created such a movement. While Shiraishi was observing the movements of the clay figurine, the silver knife in his hand produced a strong whirlwind blade. However, the clayman's fist body is very hard, and it blocks the wind blade cutting attack. Under the control of Ibizo, this clayman's defense and destructive power are strong. and the general jounin encounters no opponent at all. The silver knife offensive failed. Beishi's fighting spirit boiled. His attention suddenly retracted. He hugged into a ball, and his mind controlled the surrounding mudslides to rush towards the Clayman area in the opposite direction, slowing down the Clayman's speed point when a mudslide hits. A powerful whirlpool of water waves is generated around the clay figure, which quickly blocks the mudslide. During the attack, countless mudslides are generated, and bullets are shot at Shiraishi, who keeps blocking and dodging with his silver knife point in the electric light and flint. The silver knife in Shiraishi's hand danced rapidly, but the clay figure in front of him seemed to be unaffected by his speed and punched out. The silver knife blocked it. At the same time, Shiraishi's feet thickened, the strength of his left arm expanded, and he punched forward with a powerful punch. One punch point, the whirlwind energy generated on Shiraishi's fist is superimposed layer by layer, creating powerful cutting power. The clay figurine was not afraid, and responded with a strong punch. The sound of the fists colliding was swallowed up by the loud explosion, and the picture of the muscles showing bulging veins was covered up by the rolling waves of fire and the dissipating storm. However, the surrounding mudslide walls began to collapse a little bit. The clay figurine swayed slightly and quickly stabilized its center of gravity. Shiraishi took a step back and stepped on the ground. His muscles were numb with pain from the vibration, and the arm facing him was already fractured. Just now, the fist contained the change of earth escape, which caused Shiraishi's arm to be bruised and fractured. To be able to fight to this point with the strongest clay warrior in the Doraya square formation on the first day, Shiraishi's physical skills are really strong. Killing the purple mastiff may not be a coincidence. Without such strong swordsmanship and physical skills, Shiraishi would not have the chance to kill this cunning puppet master. After all, the biggest nemesis of the puppet master is ninjas like Shiraishi. Unable to suppress the clay figure with his fists, Shiraishi strengthened his mind power and skillfully covered his whole body. His entire left leg swelled, his instep straightened. He pulled it out from the crack and slashed out with a knife at the speed of unsheathing. The wind wings behind the clay figure started flying, avoiding Beishi's attack. At the same time, he stretched out his right hand and turned his palm into a knife. With the speed of the bright wind blade, it struck the neck like lightning with the help of the falling force. Wind escape, fire escape, earth escape and water escape. The four attributes of combat are very easy to switch, making Shiraishi more and more exhausted as he fights. Shiraishi folded his back quickly and avoided the clay figurine's attack. His body and the silver knife rotated at high speed, turning into a tornado and attacking. Under the control of telekinesis, Beishi's body is very fast, and with the blessing of high-speed movement, he kills the Clayman at a speed that exceeds the speed of the Clayman's wind escape. However, the Clayman's body is extremely hard, and the surrounding mudslides are absorbed into himself. During the process of being covered by countless mudslides, Shiraishi pierced with his knife. Just as the clay figure was preparing to block, he saw countless chakra lines projected from all directions like spider silk, which became very strange under the control of telekinesis. This is, in an unimaginable way, during the process of increasing his mental power, Shiraishi's chakra thread has the same toughness as a silver knife. During the dancing of the thread, it suddenly cuts through the Clayman's mudslide defense. The knife pierced the clay figure's body at this moment. In an instant, the ball of energy representing the wind escape was shattered, but the remaining three energy groups were transformed. The fire escape body immediately took over, and a violent heat wave hit, causing Shiraishi to take a few steps back again. The time is up. The first day of assessment is over. I successfully persisted for an hour. You reading www.wakanshu.net, but Shiraishi's methods against the enemy made Ibizo fall in love with this kid more and more, especially the move that mixed chakra lines with telekinesis, which increased the power of chakra lines and directly turned them into weapons for attack. After dismantling the Earth-style square formation, Shiraishi gasped for air. Although he had just successfully cracked the core of a ball of earth release, the remaining three groups of switched energy represented the subsequent means of responding to the enemy in the square formation. According to Sunagakure's historical records, in addition to the earth escape square formation, Ibizo also has stronger battle formation methods. No wonder he is ranked first in the group of elders with Chiyo. His master seems to be very strong. Fighting against enemies can better stimulate a person's potential. You need to refine chakra here all night long. Ibizo's scroll was opened, and a huge vat suddenly appeared, which contained a large amount of medicinal extracts, exuding an unimaginable smell. Shiraishi was not pretentious. In the process of taking off all his clothes, Ibiza was amazed. The bones and muscles are good. The girl will be very happy to see it. When it comes to scrolls, Shiraishi understands the hidden meaning of Ibizo's words. I pay great attention to physical care. When natural physical desires appear at certain times, I suppress and restrain myself to strengthen my mental resistance. Isn't this child afraid of becoming X and cold in the future? Ibizo suddenly felt sorry for Jounin. It was a girl's misfortune to meet such a training and research madman. When Shiraishi's body enters a medicine tank, the unique medicine energy begins to be introduced into every part of the body. P.S. I just finished writing the code until early in the morning, and then I asked for recommendation votes in the new week. This is very important for the performance of the new book. In fact, I'm usually very busy and have no time to save the manuscript, and it is easy to get stuck, so I really don't have much time to write. Sleepy good night. Before going to bed, please vote for more recommendations and support. Chapter 32, European Emperor. The formula of the medicine jar is Ibizo's secret tradition, which is used for spiritual practice to enhance the vitality of Shiraishi's body cells and enhance the sensitivity to other attributes. While Shiraishi was soaking in the medicine tank, the cells in his body were frantically absorbing the medicine inside. Every time he finished bathing, the entire medicine tank became very turbid and smelly. This was mainly because some of the impurities in Shiraishi's body were eliminated during this process. After taking a bath in the medicine tank for the first time, Shiraishi felt that the chakra in his body was completely different. While Ibizo looked at the medicine in the medicine tank with a little distress, I originally planned to change the medicine every few days, but now this kid has squandered the effectiveness of the medicine in one day. Now I have to change the medicine again. These materials are very expensive, boy. Shiraishi, you will go to work with me next, to prepare the funds for these drugs. Ibizo decided to let Shiraishi earn them. Soon Ibizo used his authority to collect a batch of missions to kill rebel ninjas from Anbu, mainly in his own area. Within 3 days, the task will be completed. Faced with Ibizo's instructions, Shiraishi completed the task neatly. With the silver sword in his hand, he was very powerful in chasing down the traitorous ninjas. He quickly captured many overseas traitorous ninjas with unknown origins and sent them back to the village. The reward of the mission was all exchanged for the medicine jar used to prepare Shiraishi's body. After a period of soaking, Shiraishi underwent a radical change. His body cells and chakra acupuncture points were greatly improved. Shiraishi felt his own changes and at the same time became more grateful to Ibizo. In addition to taking on tasks, Shiraishi also has to continue training with clay figures. From the beginning, the 4 clay figures have 4 attributes. The next 4 clay figures each have different attributes for combined battles. There are even initial clay figures with a mixture of 3 attributes in each fierce battle. Shiraishi's mental power and sword skills became more and more powerful, and his speed and physical sense became more acute. Under Ibizo's personal guidance, Shiraishi's strength improved extremely quickly. The Liashi River Valley was initially used as an initial training area, but was now abandoned by Ibizo. The 2 apostles spent the next 10 days hiking through the southern region of the Kingdom of Wind. Shiraishi accidentally obtained 2 weapons while killing a traitorous ninja card. There is a white card and a blue card. The white card reads Shiraishi first. In the process of increasing his own chakra, the progress bar of reading the white card is getting faster and faster, and he will soon obtain an initial skill bubble. However, this is an initial skill, and there are many branch skills corresponding to bubbles. In addition, after this period of practice, Shiraishi's affinity for water attribute chakra has improved a lot. The moment the bubble is unlocked, the proficiency level directly becomes 2%. The principle of bubble skills is similar to that of sparks. After one night, Shiraishi learned the order of seals and chakra mobilization, and then sprayed a large amount of foam into the distant desert. The strong explosion impact caused Ibizo to wake up suddenly. Is this the water escape you developed yourself? After Ibizo woke up, he looked straight at Shiraishi writing all the experience and usage of this water escape move on a scroll. For a moment, Ibizo himself felt that it was not real point this time. I was accompanying him throughout the whole process. This kid didn't have any water escape skills before, so he could directly use water escape skills. After obtaining Shiraishi's consent, Ibizo picked up the scroll of water release and foam technique and read it. He found that it was not much different from the regular bubble water release, but Shiraishi still insisted on positioning it as a sea level escape technique. Water escape techniques such as bubbles are also a common attack method on Shirogakuri's side, but soon Ibizo discovered a problem. It seemed that the amount of chakra that needed to be mobilized was still controlled within a small range. The geographical environment of the Kingdom of Wind doubles the chakra loss of ninjas who use water release. However, Shiraishi's water release bubble technique consumes chakra in a controllable amount, which is very powerful. In Ibizo's knowledge, the only person who could do this in history was the water escape of the second Hokage of Konoha. Now there is another young man like this in front of him. Wait a minute, the fire escape he created earlier seems to be the same. Although the skill system of the different world has been localized and transformed, it is superficially the same as the ninjutsu system. In fact, there are many differences in details. For example, in terms of chakra mobilization, the skill system of the different world consumes less chakra. For example, when the environment is unfavorable, the amount of chakra that is originally required to be consumed by ordinary water escape is several times higher than that required by special environments. The power is also slightly affected, and Shiraishi's foam loss is greatly reduced. In the ninja world, unless a family's traditional secret technique or a master disciple inheritance is passed on, it is generally rare for people to directly exchange techniques. As Shiraishi's master, Ibizo also needs to obtain the consent of his disciples before he can learn this technique. Shiraishi didn't mind this matter. On the contrary, he needed Ibizo to help him establish his reputation as a talented ninja in research and development. At this time, Ibizo quickly and silently formed the seal, fire release, spark technique. There was a loud explosion, and as the sparks shot out in front of him, an area was burned. The power was still limited by the location, but the amount of chakra consumed was much smaller than that of ordinary fire escape. Perhaps at the jounin and chunin stages, the chakra loss caused by a spark would make them feel that the price-performance ratio is very uneconomical. However, when a ninja reaches Ibizo's level, the value of this technique becomes extremely huge. From the wind, a tribute to the three attributes of water, wind, and earth, Ibizo's cultivation is indispensable, and this bubble scroll trick is naturally given to Ibizo. Reading www.ukanshu.net, so that Shiraishi can rely on skill cards to develop in the future. There are reasonable explanations for other skills. Ibizo's ability to obtain the foam water escape directly aroused his strong desire for research. He soon ignored Shiraishi and entered the tent alone to study this unique and magical water escape technique. Watching Ibizo go away, Shiraishi silently took out the second blue card. Some intuition made Shiraishi choose to read this card immediately. He had a hunch that the effect of this card would exceed his expectations judging from the color and pattern alone. This skill or technique belongs to the ground type earth escape type. Based on previous encounters, it may be a medium attack skill after being read, but when Shiraishi picks up the card, there is always a sense of heaviness feel. When the progress bar indicated little by little and the blue card in his hand turned into a pile of scrap metal and dissipated in the air. In the Shiraishi glasses system, the blue card position was unlocked and appeared in a separate initial skill position. There are no branches or evolutions. Only a single area. This is the first skill Shiraishi has encountered so far. However, Beishi felt a strong sense of expectation in his heart. During the slow simulation preview of the skill video, a ninja was seen standing on the ground, his feet covered and buried by countless sand and dust. During this process, it seemed that a steady stream of chakra energy was extracted from the sand and dust and poured into it to perform the technique inside the body. This technique, according to the nouns in some memory fragments in Shiraishi's own glasses, this time he has completely become the European emperor, because here, he can draw a powerful transformation skill that is most compatible with the sand-hidden wind country. With this move, you can directly make up for the huge loss of your own chakra. PS. I'm asking for recommendations. I revised the draft I made early last night and send it out today. Chapter 33, Sand Gathering Technique. The moment the skill area is completely unlocked, it is transformed into a special ground-based skill set called Sand Technique. The Sand Gathering Technique is a unique transformation skill that relies on absorbing sand energy and converting it into one's own chakra. As long as the caster is in a sandstorm environment, he can continuously absorb the energy in the sandstorm and convert it into his own chakra point. However, it is difficult to master the sand gathering technique simply because converting the energy in the sand into your own chakra mainly depends on whether the conversion efficiency is high or low. At present, Shiraishi can simply convert a little dust energy, but in high tempo battles, such a supplement is insignificant. But even so, the value of the sand gathering technique is far greater than any skill Shiraishi has mastered in the past. Because as a ninja with a very short amount of chakra, the sand gathering technique is to make up for his biggest shortcoming. With the sand gathering technique as a support, Shiraishi can have more energy to perform more powerful techniques. No matter what, you have developed powerful ninjutsu for water release and fire release. It is not appropriate to hand it over for free like this. This set of battle formations will be handed over to you in advance. Compared with the stinginess of the Iroquois family, Ibizo, as Shiraishi's master, would naturally not take advantage of Shiraishi for no reason, so he chose the principle of equal exchange and handed over the Earth Escape battle formation to Shiraishi's mastery. Earth Escape Earth Style 3 Talents Formation. This series of battle formation techniques is based on the same system as Liu Sifeng, but the difficulty is much lower for the user. He only needs to master 3 chakra attributes and accurately fabricate clay figures with 3 special attributes to fight. For the control of clay figures, special connection points are required, mainly relying on chakra lines. This is what Shiraishi was very surprised about. He did not find that Ibizo used chakra lines when controlling the square array point as a variant of the puppet technique. The learning difficulty of the 3 talents formation is actually not much different from that of the 4 square formation, but the attribute combination is much weaker than the 4 attributes. Shiraishi didn't mind at all and quickly followed the formation technique in principle. Several small dirt piles were prepared. There are many ceiling gestures in the Sankei formation, and at the same time, the chakra attributes and vein adjustments in the body are also very complicated. Previously, Ibizo was very familiar with the operation, but Shiraishi failed in the first sealing process. During the second sealing process, only one clay figure got up very slowly. He tried to control it with chakra lines, but it broke into pieces at a touch point. The very difficult technique inspired Shiraishi's strong fighting spirit. After several hours of repeated sealing, Shiraishi finally completed the first time that 3 clay figures stood up at the same time, but he was still unable to control them. Both the 3 talents formation and the 4 square formation require strong control. You must slowly hone this battle formation. However, you must first dismantle it and simulate a clay figure as your own earth clone. While explaining, Ibizo practiced the sequence and method of forming the earth clone for Shiraishi. The core of the construction of the 3 talents formation and the 4 square formation is a variation of the use of earth clones, but generally the earth clones have the will of the caster to split off, while the clay figurine clones in the battle formation are more like puppets as the name suggests. The earth clone has the attribute of earth. They are different from the clone technique in that they can harm the enemy and have attack effects, but they are different from shadow clones and do not have the effect of gaining additional experience points after being lifted. Therefore, the earth clone has the effect of earth attribute attacks, but unlike the shadow clone, the main body can gain additional experience points after being released or disappearing after being attacked. So essentially, it's just an earth escape technique. After dismantling the Sankei formation and forming a seal, Shiraishi immediately simulated an earth clone exactly like himself. Shiraishi's earth clone began to perform simple movements, holding a silver knife made of soil in his hand. The knife thrust out at an extremely fast speed. As the chakra line on Shiraishi's hand swung with the clone, Ibizo also created an earth clone of Ibizo, which was entangled with Shiraishi's earth clone. As Chiyo's younger brother, Ibizo's puppet control is also exquisite. During the battle between the two, Ibizo very carefully told Shiraishi about many details that should be paid attention to in the battle. The training process between Ibizo and Shiraishi lasted for several days. During this period, Ibizo found that his apprentice's endurance had improved a little bit compared to before. Now after creating a soil clone, Shiraishi's combat endurance is getting better day by day. There is a layer of light sand flowing around Shiraishi's feet, which is constantly converting sand energy to replenish Shiraishi's own lost chakra. Although the amount is not large, it is enough to improve Shiraishi's endurance. This is a sand gathering technique, which is more valuable than any other technique in the past. With it, Shiraishi's own strength can improve by leaps and bounds. In actual combat, drills are conducted to control the sand gathering technique. During the simulation test of the battle between the two, a huge pack of wolves suddenly appeared and howled. Ibizo frowned when he saw this. They are desert blood wolves. There are quite a few of them, and there are several more of the alpha wolves. Desert blood wolves are a special type of mutated beasts in the Kingdom of Wind. They possess certain chakra attack methods and are a nightmare for many caravans. How could the Kingdom of Wind initiate an extermination campaign against this group? But the harvest has not been successful. Not big. The leading evil wolves stepped onto the high ground in the desert, opened their bloody mouths, and stared at Shiraishi and Ibizo below. Sensing the malicious intentions of these wolves, Ibizo's face became angry, and the earth clone beside him suddenly flashed. You read the book www.uakshu.net blasted out a terrifying ripple impact with one hand as the exploding light resounded through the ground. Shiraishi's glasses quickly started scanning. Compared with ordinary creatures, the quality of desert blood wolves was much higher. The average wolf pack members were of green quality, while a few alpha wolves were of blue color quality. Master, is it possible to tame a desert blood wolf and become a psychic beast? Desert blood wolves have very violent personalities and tempers. It is difficult for ordinary ninjas to control these creatures. However, they have the same powerful perception and tracking capabilities as ninja dogs. They can be transformed after capture. Ibizo has a thorough understanding of the desert blood wolf's habits. Since Shiraishi hopes to capture the psychic beast, he, as a master, naturally begins to make suggestions for Shiraishi. Catch them all. Just put them in the sealing scroll. Generally speaking, unless high-level psychic beasts live in groups and need to sign a contract, the main thing to transform psychic beasts like wolf pack beasts in the wild is to seize the transformation, and there is no need to sign a contract. As Shiraishi held the knife tightly in his hand, the entire desert blood wolf group felt threatened. As they started to retreat a little bit, Shiraishi's body suddenly rushed out and chopped down a powerful whirlwind knife with one hand. The wind blade cut through, and a strong airwave suddenly appeared in the surroundings. One of the wolves grinned and blew out a storm. Beishi's eyes flashed with cold light, and his mental power quickly spread out, turning into a powerful binding force, turning the entire wolf pack upside down. The desert blood wolves are very powerful, but they basically have no resistance against this pair of masters and apprentices. Only one of the blood wolves is extremely tenacious and fierce. Even if his teammates are each captured by Shiraishi with seal scrolls, they still insist on fighting. The quality of this blood wolf is currently the highest among the wolves. PS. Please recommend me. It's not easy to support a new book. Chapter 34. Psychic Beast Transformation. The last desert blood wolf stood alone on the side of the desert. Faced with the predicament, it did not choose to retreat or escape. In its sharp eyes, its claws turned into a sharp shadow and struck at speed. Facing the attack of the ferocious beast, when Shiraishi's body leaned back slightly, the chakra line on his hand suddenly shot out, turning into an invisible chain and restraining the blood wolf under his control. The latter spit out a storm and tried to expel it, but he saw in the pupils of Shiraishi's eyes a ray of thought power spread. While suppressing the ferocious wolf with his external telepathy, a special magic seal appeared on Beishi's palm, and he aimed at the blood wolf's head and struck it down. The unique sealing technique was activated, and countless black words corresponded to Beishi's palm. With a bang, the desert blood wolf was sealed in one side of the scroll. This telekinesis technique is getting more and more powerful in your hands. There are several organizational studies of telekinesis in Sunagakure village, but most of the genin and even chunin can only perceive telekinesis and rarely use it externally. Although the jounin can do it externally, there is almost no mature control like Shiraishi. At first, the senior management of Sunagakure felt that Shiraishi had reservations about handing over the technique. but after a period of research, they found that there was actually no problem with the technique, but the manipulation and subtle control of telekinesis are currently only used more thoroughly by Shiraishi. After capturing the desert blood wolf, Shiraishi followed Ibizo's instructions and sealed it in a special scroll space before entering into a special contract signing mode. This forced transformation method is currently the most common method of psychic beasts in the ninja world. The desert blood wolf that Shiraishi transformed and adjusted until the last moment of the bloody battle. During the process of sealing the contract with it, the psychic beast interface and the glasses still automatically generated card readings. Countless rays of light converged from all directions and scanned the entire body of the desert blood wolf. A virtual red light was emitted from the entire glasses system, and a special rock logo was engraved on the forehead of the desert blood wolf. Desert blood wolf. The characteristics cannot be generated temporarily. It is in a blocked state, and the attributes are being generated. Rock system. Psychic beasts have one more characteristic ability than humans, but it is still in a closed state. As for attributes, Shiraishi can understand the rock type classification, and the next step is the specific values. Generally speaking, this desert blood wolf is rated as having an upper blue quality in the system. It is also one of the few high quality psychic beasts that Shiraishi has found in the desert area of the Kingdom of Wind. 3 skill grids appear under the blue card and are classified under the talent skill section, indicating that the virtual glasses are specially made according to the desert blood wolf, awakening from its blood and developing special 3-move talent skills in the simultaneous learning skills column. You can learn based on the skills in Shiraishi's hand. However, according to its settings, the learning skills that can be mastered are high speed movement and sand gathering. The blue elf can master 3 talents and skills, which are automatically unlocked, but the proficiency is about 1%. Shiraishi clicked on the query to find out the specific information of the 3 moves: rockfall blockade, scent detection, power of the earth. The effect and power of the skill can be seen from the name. Compared with the talent skill, up to 3 cards can be inserted into the learning skill. Therefore, Shiraishi inserted high speed movement and sand collection, and soon the desert blood wolf mastered 5 different techniques in addition to the system psychic beast certification. Shiraishi also carried out the most traditional modifications in the ninja world on the desert blood wolf, such as adjusting its own hair resistance and physical resistance, using drugs and special secret marks. The process of countless black words spreading out from all directions in the scroll symbolized the completion of the comprehensive transformation of the first desert blood wolf, and Ibizo felt very satisfied with the powerful aura of the blood wolf in the seal. This is just the strongest wolf in the group. Although the following wolves may not be as powerful as it, as a group of wolves, it is still very convenient to detect and track scent. The desert blood wolf is unruly, but Shiraishi is not the only psychic beast. After all, it can smell the enemy and is an excellent auxiliary psychic beast. Since there is only one position for the psychic beast card, the remaining desert blood wolf Beishi is simply processed. Originally, the blood wolf was the main one in the wolf pack. Now that Beishi has improved so much with his glasses, the remaining desert blood wolves are even less dare to make mistakes. Psychicism. The moment Beishi formed the seal to summon him, the desert blood wolf stood proudly on the field. Compared to the other wolves who looked at Beishi, they were a little more frightened. The leader, the improved desert blood wolf, stepped forward to rub Beishi very affectionately. Ibizo, who picked up a chicken leg and was gnawing on it, suddenly stared wide-eyed. How does it feel? Like he has transformed into a big dog. During the renovation, I kept communicating with it, and maybe it was moved by me. Beishi rubbed the blood wolf's head, and the latter whined a few times, then turned around and bared his teeth to scold the other wolves. Soon, these desert blood wolves also changed their attitudes and turned into silly big dogs. Before, some of them asked Ibizo for food. This is a chicken leg. No grabbing. The food is here. Protecting the chicken legs in his hands, Ibizo took out a pile of food from the package and handed it over. Soon the group of desert blood wolves began to eat happily. The previous attacks on humans were mainly for food. In such a desert environment, reading www.okanshu.net, they are very hungry. Have you mastered the Doryu Sanke formation? After Dealing with the matter of the psychic beast, Ibizo asked about the Doraya-Sankei formation. After 4 or 5 days of simulated battles with the earth clones, Shiraishi quickly made 3 small piles of dirt, quickly formed seals with his hands, and suddenly pressed down on the ground. Earth. Escape Earth style 3 talons formation. 3. Chakras with different attributes quickly absorbed the surrounding energy in the pile of soil. Suddenly, as the clay figure grew up little by little, the amount of chakra absorbed also increased. Shiraishi felt a little faint when he felt this powerful absorption force. He was in a coma, but he didn't expect that after the Sankei formation was activated, the amount of chakra absorbed would be huge. As the huge ground began to rise, 3 white stone and earth clones appeared. Standing at 3 angles, Shiraishi skillfully controlled the sand gathering technique at his feet to maintain a certain amount of chakra in his body, but his face was still pale. However, the proficiency of the sand gathering technique is slowly improving due to practice during this period. With each level of proficiency improved, the amount of chakra absorbed and transformed by Shiraishi increases, directly summoning the complete Sankei formation. He can still stand here and control it. This kid's chakra control is getting better and better, and he is not being sucked out of all chakra by the Sankei formation at once. Not understanding the existence of the sand gathering technique, Ibizo was really shocked by Shiraishi. This child really surprised him every time. He was a genius among geniuses. He suddenly had nothing to teach him. At present, only some techniques and principles remain. As the master and apprentice continue to practice, the war between Sunagakure and Konoha seems to have quietly changed. In the Konoha garrison area outside Mount Kikayo, Orochimaru deployed a large number of psychic summoning arrays for the subsequent direct military attack on Mount Kikayo. It's obvious that Konoha has changed its strategy towards Sunagakure. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35, Burning Release vs Orochimaru. On the front line of Mount Kikayo, Ye Cang was discussing the current dynamic situation of Konoha with a group of jounin. On the huge strategic layout map of Mount Kikayo, there was a display of the trends in Konoha, which indicated that the upcoming situation was not calm. During this period, Konoha has added multiple medical squads and mobile teams, and the number of advanced teams has also increased, including many elite jounin leaders. We don't have enough manpower to keep an eye on. Jounin said nervously that the current situation in Kikayo Mountain seemed to be broken. Konoha's imminent move made Sunagakure extremely passive. As the top guard of Sunagakure, Shirogakiji is also the backbone, and is now responsible for the entire defense line of Kikayo Mountain. There was a problem with the arrangement, but Konoha continued to increase its power, leaving Ye Cang helpless. First, report all the news to the village and let Feng Ying make a judgment. Kikayo Mountain is currently controlled by Sunagakure. Once something happened to the Third Kazekage, Sunagakure mobilized almost the entire village and quickly stationed themselves at the border Kikayo Mountain. With such a geographical advantage, Konoha's supplies could be made more laborious. Although Konoha and Sunagakure had fought and exchanged fire several times before, they were all small-scale frictions now stationed in the outer area of Konoha. Orochimaru changed his past passive defensive posture and became aggressive. Coupled with the arrival of a large number of elite forces, the direction of the battle is becoming increasingly clear. Volume and Shirogakiji followed Ye Cang on many missions, including many battles with Konoha ninjas, and one in which they encountered Tsunade. Although Tsunade was a medical ninja, she had powerful strange power techniques and explosive power, making her an outlier among medical ninjas. Ye Cang knew he was outmatched and took the initiative to retreat. Similarly, the composition of the puppet army and the pharmacist also made Tsunade wary of Sunagakure's methods and did not pursue too much. It is obvious that Konoha is currently preparing for war against Mount Kikayo. After these 6 months of preparations, Konoha's entire preparations have been basically completed. These changes have caused Sunagakure's top management to hold discussions overnight. Rata had many high-level communications with the Council of Elders and observed the battlefield situation. On the huge battle map, Ratsa thought for a moment, and was unable to judge Konoha's movements and purposes as the head of the 5 major ninja villages. Konoha's every move affects the entire ninja world, so not only Sunagakure, but also Iwagakure, Kumogakure, and Kirigakure are speculating whether Konoha is preparing to fully invade Sunagakure. Konoha has strengthened border pressure. This is completely different from the initial judgment. On the contrary, Iwagakure and Kirigakure have not made any big moves. Maybe Konoha and the others want to take us down directly. Chiyo looked at Ratsa. Then what is the reaction of our allies? Speaking of other ninja villages, Ratsa sighed. Kirigakure and Iwagakure just said they would pay attention to Konoha's developments. Information from all aspects was gathered in front of Ratsa, doubling the pressure on the 4th Kazekage. If this continues, Sunagakure will really have to bear Konoha's attack unilaterally, especially the leader of Konoha is Orochimaru. This guy's madness has been revealed in the past few years. In this fight, Ilyusha experienced it personally, right? Now Ibizo and his apprentice happen to be around Mount Kakayo. Let them also go and support us. As the chief counselor of the Elder Council, Ibizo's strength and strategic judgment are very amazing. Chiyo's suggestion and Ratsa immediately agreed, and wrote a letter asking Ibizo to go to Mount Kakayo to assist Ye Cang Point in the desolate desert. 2 figures were walking step by step on the sand, when a falcon suddenly landed from high in the sky, and handed the letter to them. The 3rd Hokage is old. After receiving the news, Ibizo looked at the sky in the distance, and suddenly felt emotional. This giant who stirred up the storm in the ninja world, after the baptism of time, began to gradually age like himself. Shiraishi also made his own deduction, based on Ibizo's thinking. There are 2 possibilities. The fighting faction suppressed Sarutobi Hiruzen, or the 3rd generation of Hokages preparing to choose a successor, which will lead to Orochimaru's change. Either way, it is a sign. The 3rd Hokage is getting old, and can no longer control the situation. The war with Konoha will become more intense in the future, because it involves the struggle for the leadership of Konoha. Compared to Sunagakure, Konoha has more factions and more complex forces. Since the issue of the 4th Hokage is taken into account, so without further ado, Ibizo took Shiraishi and quickly headed towards Mount Kakayo. How about comparing our 2 feats' strength? At the same time as Ibizo spoke, special chakra fluctuations appeared under his feet, and he flew through the desert at an extremely fast speed, with almost no signs of fatigue. When Shiraishi saw this, his white coat floated up, and he followed Ibizo at the same speed. Move point while running quickly, facing the soon-to-arrive Platikadon mountain. Shiraishi's eyes flashed with light point as one of the Sennin of Konoha. Orochimaru has long been famous in the ninja world. For such a legendary figure, Shiraishi only knew such a geek through a part of his biography, so he is worth looking forward to. Just as Shiraishi and Ibizo embarked on the journey to Mount Kakayo, Ye Cang was also in huge trouble. Dozens of giant snakes came rolling in. Reading www.ukanshu.net surrounded the entire Platikadon mountain with astonishing momentum. At the same time, various types of venomous snakes and small snakes came out densely, forming a special venomous snake encirclement formation. Orochimaru, who had long black hair, stood on the high platform and arranged the psychic surgery and looked quietly at Sunagakure on the opposite side of Mount Kakayo. Watching the movements of Sunagakure, Orochimaru's eyes showed a ghostly light. As a planner, he naturally has control over the situation in Mount Kakayo. This boring confrontation game can finally end. The terrifying venomous snake trend is coming crazily. Compared with Orochimaru during the Second Ninja War, Orochimaru's age and strength at this period have reached the peak of the general ninja world. Creating such a large venomous snake trend almost made Sunagakure defeated steadily. Hateful. Ye Cang jumped down and formed a huge burning fireball with one hand and blasted it on the ground. In the process of destroying a wave of poisonous snakes with the violent energy flow, he saw a large number of poisonous snakes gathering. The inexhaustible wave of poisonous snakes and flames raged in the sky, dyeing almost everything red. Ye Cang formed seals with his hands and activated a unique burst of burning air, sweeping across the entire ground. In the thick smoke, Orochimaru stood motionless on the opposite side. Suddenly, Orochimaru's figure appeared in front of Ye Cang like a ghost, and with a flick of his tongue, he danced quickly with soft punches facing an opponent of Orochimaru's level. Ye Cang condensed his chakra energy to increase the power of his scorching escape, used his own technique, and instantly filled his body with scorching flames. The majestic power that exploded shook the entire surrounding area of Platicadon Mountain Point. Orochimaru was one of the few Kage level masters who could comprehensively combine taijutsu, ninjutsu, and illusion. His set of soft punches made Ye Cang retreat step by step. Although the explosive power of Scorch release is powerful, the wave of poisonous snakes is very huge, constantly blocking Ye Cang's damage for Orochimaru. Chapter 36, A Shocking Blow. Snake shadows danced all over the sky, and Orochimaru and Hayakura were fighting with ease in midair. As the strange snake hands danced, Orochimaru blinked blue like a poisonous snake, as if the whole world was plunged into darkness. Illusion. The burning escape in his body broke through the shackles of illusion, but the more Ye Cang fought, the more sweat became on his forehead, and the fire burned in his fists, destroying countless poisonous snakes around him, and the loss of physical strength became more intense. Teacher, Ye Cang, Jounin, is very worried about Ye Cang's safety, but she knows better that she must not go down and cause trouble to the teacher, otherwise it will only make Ye Cang's side more dangerous. See, we have to do something. Let's deal with these snakes first. On one side, the chakra line in the hand of Shirogakiji drove two puppets to kill these poisonous snakes. However, Orochimaru's snake formation seemed to be endless and showed no signs of dissipating, which caused a huge headache for Sunagakure. There should be a source of the spell, which must be destroyed to end the spell array. Although I understand this truth, how can Orochimaru's technique be broken so easily? In this era, Orochimaru's battlefield destructive power is almost the strongest in the ninja world, especially his attack on Sunagakure, which is not as simple as channeling a group of snakes. From the moment Orochimaru took action, the war between Sunagakure and Konoha officially started. At the same time, a large number of people from Konoha began to move around, following the snake group forward little by little. The puppet mobile team is dispatched. A large number of puppets were placed on the front line to drive away the tide of snakes under the control of the puppet master. At the same time, Sunagakure's pharmacists also began to drop potions to drive away poisonous snakes. It was obvious that Sunagakure was not completely helpless against these psychic beasts. After countless puppets were released, the sound of explosions and the release of various techniques continued to echo in the area east of Platicadon Mountain Point. The snake tide was gradually alleviated and controlled, but Konoha suddenly launched a second round of attacks. A group of special jounin led a team to break through into Mount Kakayo and directly target the group of puppet masters and pharmacists who had been driving away the snake tide just now. This batch of special jounin are mainly outstanding in physical skills, resulting in the entire A-team being a group of high-speed mobile assassins, very decisive and quick to harvest Sunagakure's frontline masters in the past. Konoha's White Fang once killed Sunagakure by himself and made Sunagakure terrified. Although White Fang has passed away, the method against Sunagakure is still effective. Although Hayakura has taken precautions, Orochimaru's snake formation itself is the first wave of bait. A large number of puppet masters were killed, causing the weakest east side area to be almost in a state of breakthrough. Several Sunagakure jounins made the immediate decision to take the scrolls with them. When Shirogakiji went to support, they encountered a large number of Konoha ninjas again on the waypoint within the Konoha camp. Several jounin were whispering, the real intention of the snake tide is Sunagakure's group of troublesome puppet masters and pharmacists. As long as these group of people are annihilated, the overall threat of Sunagakure will be reduced by more than half. As the planner, Orochimaru personally restrained Ye Cang and arranged for these special jounins to lead the team to complete this task. For a time, Sunagakure kept wailing on Mount Kakayo, and a large number of puppet masters and pharmacists were assassinated by Konoha ninjas. Hateful. Ye Cang drove to giant fireballs with his hands to attack, but Orochimaru shot two poisonous snakes to block them. At the same time, the tide of snakes behind became more and more dense. Orochimaru's intention was obvious, directly cutting off the connection between Ye Cang and the Kakayo Mountain headquarters. As a coach, you are too impulsive and too inexperienced. At the same time Orochimaru spoke, many Konoha ninjas gathered around him to help, surrounding Ye Cang point facing the crisis. Ye Cang's face turned cold, and his whole body burned with powerful fire. The violent airflow symbolized Zuodon entering a more powerful explosive state. For a moment, the surrounding air seemed to be burning, and became extremely hot. Point on the other side of the battlefield, the battle situation became increasingly fierce. Due to the lack of Sunagakure's coach, the command system was in chaos. During the battle, Konoha's assassination troops directly targeted Sunagakure's most valuable puppet master and the pharmacist who also served as a medical ninja. As corpses fell all over the ground, Sunagakure began to realize the seriousness of the problem and began to provide support. However, at this time, the number of Konoha ninjas increased and began to contain Sunagakure's main forces in all directions. In terms of overall strength, Konoha's suppression of Sunagakure, coupled with raids and assassinations, resulted in Sunagakure's frontline collapse. Shirogakiji's eyes were solemn, and his chakra lines were under the control of his telekinesis. The two red placefish swam and moved quickly, like two masses of red light, intertwined and swinging, blocking Konoha's attacks again and again. This kid is in trouble. The special jounin who led the team signaled more troops to join the battle. The original attack formations of the three jounin were quickly switched and changed. Although the red place moved very fast, the amount of chakra it consumed was also very large. Maki, who was guarding Shirogakiji from the side, opened a scroll and sprayed out a powerful scorching fireball. The fire directly engulfed the Konoha ninja on the opposite side. After this period of training, Jounin also has his own way of fighting on the battlefield. Kit, die. Unexpectedly, the Konoha ninja used the substitute technique to avoid the key blow, and at the same time, aimed at the scroll with a shuriken. Seeing this, Jounin also used the substitute technique to evade. In the process of gently turning back, reading www.ukanshu.net, countless silk cloths were projected out and turned into a sealing formation. The seal was opened, but at this moment the silk cloth exploded. The Konoha ninja seized the buffer time of Jounin's technique and rushed towards the direction of the scroll at a very fast speed. The kunai in his hand flashed with cold light and came for his life. In an instant, the howl of Yoya Wolf suddenly echoed out, and the blue-white whirlwind sword light circled and penetrated, blocking the fatal attack for the scroll and shattering the kunai in the hand of the Konoha ninja. What an unexpected change occurred. As the howling of the desert blood wolf subsided, only one person and one wolf was seen. The young man wearing a white coat quietly stepped onto the battlefield, giving both sides of the Platicadon mountain battlefield an extremely amazing feeling. The moment he held the silver sword, Shiraishi's momentum suddenly changed. The silver sword spun faster, creating a strong blade storm. Countless whirlwind knives swept over him aggressively. The Konoha ninja's expression changed, and he decisively avoided it. But countless whirlwind knives followed them like shadows, as if they smelled the smell of blood, and pursued them relentlessly. Shiraishi, who relied on the sand gathering technique to absorb a large amount of chakra, saw the Konoha ninja escaping from the pursuit range of the whirlwind sword, and the round pupils silently activated. Then Shiraishi jumped into the air. His spinning figure stirred up endless wind and sand. In the process of covering the area, his eyes were like a ferocious wolf, locked on the opponent, and the silver knife in his hand cut through life and death. Killed by the powerful air current. Blood spilled all over the ground, and the right arm of the locked Konoha ninja was cut off directly. The special jounin who rescued also had cutting scars on his palm, caused by the Shiraishi whirlwind sword. For a moment, both sides became quiet and focused on the young man who suddenly appeared. P.S. Today I will post chapters into time periods. It depends on how sincere I am. If more updates are needed, please see the growth of recommendations. Chapter 37, Retreat. The emergence of the silver sword put both Konoha and Sunagakure in a very quiet state in this generation. The Konoha side quickly recovered and found that the boy in white was not where he was. But the sword appeared behind the broken-armed jounin at some unknown time. The special jounin turned around and also projected a kunai. At a very tricky angle, he saw Shiraishi forming seals with his hands and spitting out a large amount of foam. As the foam continued to explode, Beishi quickly made 3 piles of small clay figures on the ground. Earth. Escape Earth style 3 talents formation. The seal was activated, and with the help of the technique, huge quicksand barriers were seen rising from all directions, surrounding the entire team of Konoha Jounin. Stone, Shiraishi, Maki, and Shirogakiji's faces were full of exhaustion, but they were still very happy to see Shiraishi appear. Facing the eyes of his companions, Shiraishi was a little touched in his heart, but he still calmly dealt with the Konoha ninja opposite. It's the Earth Escape Battle Formation. As a special jounin who leads this team, he mainly focuses on physical skills and has limited ways to deal with battle formations. The only way now is to break through the Earth Escape siege and directly kill the Silver Sword Kid. The companion beside him had a broken arm, and blood was constantly leaving behind him. Since there were no medical ninjas at the scene, his life was passing quickly. Thinking of this special jounin's eyes showed a hint of ferocity, and he struck out like a ghost. The kunai in his hand quickly pierced the first clay figurine made by Shiraishi. During the explosion, a shuriken cut off Shiraishi's control of the clay figurine. He is worthy of being a ninja of Konoha. His on-the-spot reaction and fighting style are much better than Sunagakure. Shiraishi doesn't care enough about this, and activating the battle formation is just to contain Konoha. Jouin, see, you guys retreat first, except for Shiraishi's side. The entire Kakayo Yamashagakure side entered a strategic retreat and contracted the defense line point. Just when this special jounin eliminated the last clay figure, the desert blood wolf's eyes revealed a blood red light, and his whole body released his innate skill, the power of the earth. And the entire earth flow array quickly shook. The shattered earth symbolized that the earth flow formation turned into a torrent of mud and rocks and began to cover it. Konoha was caught off guard and covered in the mud and rock flow. Then Shiraishi touched the ground with one hand and solidified the ground in an instant, trying to bury Konoha alive. Damn little devil. With a bang, several Konoha ninjas broke through the mudslide ground and then crawled out of the mud in disgrace. Team Shiraishi had long since disappeared. The previous jounin died because he couldn't find time to seek help. The chase between the two sides continued. Although Konoha wanted to continue entering Mount Kikayo, the large number of mechanisms and devices left by Sunagakure at the bottom of Mount Kikayo delayed their pursuit. Immortal thing, I didn't expect you to come in. The core area of the battlefield, Orochimaru looked coldly at Ibizo, who appeared next to Ye Cang, and licked his tongue. You're not dead yet, Orochimaru. You are still the same as before. So bad. When Ibizo arrived at Mount Kikayo, he didn't expect that the battle between the two sides had already begun. He saw that Orochimaru was restraining Ye Cang in the direction of Ye Cang, so he and Shiraishi split up. Ibizo went to Ye Cang in person to rescue him. As Ibizo appeared, Konoha's Tsunade also stepped into the battlefield, gathering strength in her fists, which made Ibizo narrow his eyes. It was obvious that Tsunade's fighting spirit was very strong, which Ibizo was also very taboo about. Tsunade's existence was obviously a deterrent. My sister had suffered a lot at the hands of Tsunade. This woman was also an extremely troublesome presence. With her on the battlefield, the effectiveness of Sunagakure's poisonous techniques was greatly reduced. Let's go, Ye Cang. Regarding Ibizo's gesture, Orochimaru sneered and picked up the weapon in his hand. Can you leave? Countless poisonous snakes shot out, but Ibizo quickly created countless wind blades in his hands. In the process of cutting these poisonous snakes, Orochimaru quickly pierced Ibizo's body with his fingers, only to find that they were actually earth clones. The latter then detonated the earth clones, creating a powerful during the explosion. Ye Cang and Ibizo left. Elder, I'm very sorry, because of his own mistakes, Ye Cang almost caused the entire Kikayo mountain defense to collapse. When facing Ibizo, Ye Cang showed a guilty look. In this battle, although Konoha did not capture Mount Kikayo, it severely damaged the Sanjikure puppet troops and the medical troops. As the commander-in-chief, Ye Cang bears a major responsibility. She was strong enough, but not calm enough, so she was easily restrained and transferred away by Orochimaru, causing Kikayo Mountain to suffer a huge loss. It seems that Chiyo and I are really going to fight for Sunagakure for the rest of our lives. Ibizo's Emotion made Ye Cang even more embarrassed, but Ibizo didn't say anything else. After the two returned to the camp, they saw Shiraishi and Maki healing other injured Sunagakure ninjas. Teacher. Ye Cang. When Jounin saw Ye Cang appear, he was very excited and stepped forward to hug Ye Cang. Previously, she was trapped there alone by Orochimaru, which made Jounin really worried about the teacher's safety point regarding the posture of Jounin. Ye Cang was also embarrassed, but she quickly focused on Shiraishi. Shiraishi, you have grown taller. reading www.ukanshu.net. Shiraishi has grown a lot taller than he did some time ago. Not only Shiraishi, but also Shirogakiji and Maki are gradually getting rid of their youthful appearance and are becoming more mature points due to the tight combat power of Platikadon Mountain. Eluosha, who was far away in Sand Hidden Village, ordered the Yamaji family and the 3 sand escape lines to provide assistance. Soon, under the leadership of Yamaji Ryuko and several elite jounin of the Yamaji family, they were walking towards Platikadon Mountain. On the road point halfway through, Yamaji Lingzi received the news that Ye Cang's carelessness had led to the tragic loss of Platikadon Mountain. Yamaji Lingzi immediately stepped forward and said, "Mother, Ye Cang failed this time. After we arrive at Platikadon Mountain, do we want to take command?" From the perspective of Yamaji Ryuko, if Ye Cang, who had no background, made such a big mistake, it would be extremely simple for his family to directly seize her command. After arriving at Mount Kikyo, Ibizo is still here. Don't talk too much. Yamaji, Ryuko's mother, Yamaji Juksin, is a little helpless towards her daughter. Although Ye Cang failed this time, in order to deprive her of the command of Kikyo Mountain, she still needs to go through high-level officials such as Eluosha and Ibizo. If she takes it directly by force, it will give her the Yamaji family brings huge trouble. Thinking of this, Shanlu Juksin felt a little helpless. Why didn't her daughter make progress? When she was a student, she was crazy about pursuing the Red Sand Scorpion, and later she even devalued herself to become his disciple. After the Red Sand Scorpion disappeared, most of his subordinates were implicated in the liquidation. If it weren't for Yamaji Ryuko's background identity, they would have been dealt with by the Third Kazekage. After so many years, why is his daughter still not mature enough? P.S. I'm asking for recommendations. I'm not feeling very well yet. This chapter is not in particularly good shape. I'm still taking medicine. I'll try to update once a day today and tomorrow. I'll return to 2 updates a day when my body is normal. Chapter 38, Card Distribution. Platikadon Mountain in the night seemed particularly quiet today. Ye Cang stood alone on the peak, looking down at the busy people below, his eyes full of complexity. Kikyoma's mistake during the day led to heavy losses for Sunagakure, which made Ye Cang feel extremely guilty. At this time, a black-haired young man appeared behind Ye Cang. He was wearing glasses. Seeing Ye Cang's state, he stepped forward to comfort him. "Teacher Ye Cang, there is no need to blame yourself too much. The battlefield command is already there. It's very complicated. Orochimaru is a strong man who has been famous for many years, so it's normal for you to be suppressed by him." Although Shiraishi was puzzled by some of Ye Cang's operations, he still felt that she needed to adjust her mood and state. Otherwise similar mistakes in Kikyo would continue to happen. I understand that now is not the time to be sad and blame yourself, as if he was amused by Shiraishi's appearance to comfort him. Ye Cang calmed down and turned towards the boy. After taking off his glasses, he quickly pinched the boy's face with both hands and rubbed it quickly. "You are so mature. Look how cute Jounin is." Shiraishi didn't expect that Ye Cang would treat him like this. After being confused for a while, he picked up his glasses and saw that Ye Cang returned to his normal state. He quickly put on his glasses. Maki is cute, but she is also very strong now. Just after Shiraishi left, Ibizo walked out from the side with a smile. "I didn't expect that you couldn't do anything to this little guy." Originally, Ibizo was also worried about Ye Cang's situation, but unexpectedly saw Shiraishi enlightening Ye Cang and waited until the teacher-student exchange was completed before he came forward. Speaking of Shiraishi, an overly mature student, Ye Cang shrugged. She had never seen through this student. He is too mature, and sometimes I don't even know how to teach him. Regarding the matter of teaching Shiraishi, Ibizo smiled even more happily. The main reason is that he has not yet mastered the fire attribute chakra, otherwise there will be the best successor to Zuodan. With his potential, it's not surprising that he can master 4 or even 5 attributes. The burning escape in his hands will definitely be much better than mine. When Ibizo said this, he set his sights on the distant sky. What happened at Platicadon Mountain has already happened. We must find ways to make up for it instead of just blaming ourselves. The war has just begun now. Ye Cang, war is like this. There can't be any mistakes. Ibizo is an old man who has experienced many ninja wars. He warned Ye Cang at the same time, and also hoped that she could take on the heavy responsibility of Mount Kikayo as soon as possible. I understand, Ibizo sensei. Support from the Yamaji family will arrive later. Ye Cang's face fell when she mentioned the Sanji family. She never wanted to deal with such a big family, especially that Shanjilingzi, whose face was really disgusting and disgusting. Seeing Ye Cang's reaction, Ibizo shook his head helplessly. Shanjilingzi, just treat him like a human puppet. On the other side, Shiraishi put on his glasses again and continued to practice telekinesis and ionization. Although the proficiency in the glasses had already exceeded 100%, Shiraishi did not give up practice completely. The sky full of telepathy surrounded Shiraishi himself, and Shiraishi floated little by little, moving carefully. The IAI slash in his hand cooperated with the combination of countless whirlwind knives to attack, creating powerful slashes in the forest. During peacetime, Mount Kikayo was used several times as a joint jounin examination venue for Sunagakure and Konoha. Therefore, although the training ground and facilities inside are old, they can still be used. After this period of practice and training, the proficiency of water release bubble has improved very quickly, and the speed of launching bubbles has also become much faster. Although these bubbles are not very powerful, they can hide other means as an attack method. After the daily special training, Shiraishi simply turned on the card exploration function in his glasses to get a brief understanding of the distribution of cards around Mount Kikayo. During this period, the lines at Kikiyoyama Station were tight, and Ibizo was temporarily unable to take him back to Sunagakure, so Shiraishi began to search for the card location. The topographic map of the surrounding areas of the huge Platicadon Mountain was completely displayed, and the card coordinates suddenly flashed to show their respective distributions. According to the distribution map, there are 6 cards in the direction of Konoha, all in 6 different locations. Perhaps they are used as weapons for some ninjas to use on the battlefield. As a popular weapon in the ninja world, this indestructible card has become a sharp weapon in the collection of many families. This time, Sunagakure did not have any card markings on Mount Kikayo, which reflects the gap between Sunagakure and Konoha. But Shiraishi soon discovered that there were 2 cards with icons, and he was rapidly approaching the direction of Mount Kikayo. I remember that the village will send the Yamaji family to support tonight, so these 2 cards are to support the troops. They seem to belong to the Yamaji family, among the Shanlu family in the 3 sand lineages. Shiraishi was so impressed by Shanlulingzi, a true fan of Red Sand Scorpion, that he still couldn't understand how a woman with such an IQ could survive. Even the mentally retarded supporting characters in the novel have higher IQs than her. I can only say that reality is even more bizarre, and such women still exist. In the Konoha camp, Tsunade looked very unhappy. In fact, this battle on Mount Kikayo was not authorized by the village. Reading www.uakunshu.net. It was an operation started privately by Orochimaru. Of course, it cannot be said to be completely private. The special jounin team that came for support showed the complexity of this matter. Orochimaru, what is your plan this time? Even the Third Hokage is not aware of the attack on Sunagakure, but judging from the continuous support from the country and the assassination troops, Orochimaru clearly has the support of a certain faction. This is also the real reason for Tsunade's anger under the Dark Knight. Orochimaru looked particularly strange with half of his face revealed. Tsunade, if you are interested, you can go to the Iwagakure or Kirigakure boundary lines instead of Mount Kikayo. You guy. At this moment, Tsunade almost had the urge to beat up Orochimaru. The subtext of this guy was very clear, which meant that, if he was also interested in the 4th generation position, he could go to the other 2 borders to establish powerful war achievements. When it comes to the turmoil behind the 4th generation incident, Tsunade naturally knows that, if the situation in the village had not been tense, she would have stayed here reluctantly. However, she did not expect that Orochimaru would run against her like this. "I'm not interested in these things, but you have to take care of the old man's thoughts." Speaking of the 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, Orochimaru looked impatient. Haha, when he makes a decision, will it be 3 months or 3 years? So, you kidnap the village in this way? Orochimaru didn't take Tsunade's anger seriously. To completely capture Mount Kakayo, 1 month is enough. Tsunade, do you want to make a bet? Tsunade raised her eyebrows. Although she knew very well that this was Orochimaru's trick, she still agreed. "Very good, then I'll see if you can capture Mount Kakayo within a month. P.S. I have to wait for a day of hard work today, and normal updates will resume early tonight. Please give more support and recommendation." Chapter 39. Eye-catching. It was already midnight when the Yamaji family arrived at Kakayo Mountain. Although Ye Cang was very unhappy with Yamaji Ryuko, the Yamaji family was the vital force that Kakayo Mountain needed to supplement after all. Ye Cang and Ebizo attended the welcoming ceremony. Compared to the Iroquois family who like to show off, Yamaji Tachibana, who is over 50 years old, is dressed in combat attire and exudes a chilling aura. Even Yamaji Ryuko, who has always liked to toss, is very afraid of her mother in such a state. It is indeed a family that has given birth to 3 generations of heroes like the Kazekage. Shiraishi in the distance also felt the strong aura of the Yamaji family and couldn't help but look at them with suspicion. The sand control technique is not a particularly rare technique in Sunagakure, but it can achieve the 3 types of sand escape and integrate other attributes into the sand control technique, which eventually evolved into various types of magnetic escape. Currently, Sunagakure mainly belongs to these 3 families, since the previous chakra properties had earth attributes, and the earth escape battle formation technique required rapid control of sand to create clones. Shiraishi practiced simple sand control techniques under the guidance of Ebizo. The combination of sand control and treasure gathering skills can theoretically develop into magnetic escape, but Shiraishi found that it is very difficult to operate in practice. The sand control technique and the magnetic escape control both test the ability of the caster. They also choose metals, but the Shanlu family and the Luo family choose different materials. Although the treasure gathering skill can condense metals, it also collects too many impurities, making it difficult to develop pure magnetic escape. However, when Shiraishi was practicing the sand control technique, he unexpectedly discovered that his proficiency in the sand collection technique was accelerating, which surprised Shiraishi. Although the skills in the glasses system are all brand new techniques that have been modified, they are not completely unrelated to various types of techniques in the contemporary ninja world. Sand gathering technique can actually be regarded as a new direction of sand control technique. Relying on the transformation of chakra amount from the sand collection technique, Shiraishi can now easily perform multiple techniques without being as tired as before. After a brief exchange of greetings between the 2 parties, Ye Cang arranged the Yamaji family on the western front according to Ebizo's arrangement, and they would conduct independent defense there. Senior Yamaji, thank you very much for coming to support overnight this time. It's all for Sunagakure. Yamaji. Tachibana's eyes were solemn, and the jounin behind him all expressed their attitude of defeating everything for Sunagakure. Just when everyone left, leaving only Ebizo and Shiraishi, the old man said quietly, "What do you think of the next war? It's difficult for us to win simply by comparing strength. After all, in addition to the strength gap between the 2 sides, the interior of Sunagakure may have been penetrated by Konoha. Sunagakure was broken through the Kakayo Mountain defense line so quickly, not only because of Orochimaru's good layout, but also because Sunagakure's internal forces were penetrated by Konoha forces. Although Sunagakure also had undercover forces in Konoha, they played a very small role in this battle point. Although Shiraishi doesn't know exactly how many people are undercover in Konoha, judging from the current situation, Konoha's internal power within Sunagakure is very large, and it is not even as simple as just one or two undercovers mentioning these things. Ibizo felt a little headache. Then what can you do? We can create some false news, such as we have powerful ninjutsu that completely blocks Konoha's perception system. During this time, Shiraishi compiled more and more memory fragments. The more various information he obtained, the more active his whole idea became. Point a ninjutsu that blocks Konoha's perception system. If this technique really existed, I'm afraid the whole world would go crazy. In the following time, Konoha will mainly clean up the traps and mechanisms outside Mount Kikayo. Although the entire offensive rhythm of Konoha has slowed down, it does not mean that Sunagakure's pressure on the front has been reduced. Konoha internally split into two factions regarding Orochimaru's aggressive attack. The martial arts faction felt that this was a good opportunity to capture Mount Kikayo in one fell swoop and force Sunagakure to surrender. The moderate faction should not overly oppress Sunagakure. Otherwise, let them all turn to Shirogakure, and Iwagakure will gain more than he loses. Shirogakure and Sunagakure are doubly separated by the sea and desert. Even if Sunagakure unites with Shirogakure, Sunagakure cannot unite. As for Iwagakure, I'm afraid Sunagakure is more wary of them than we are. The fighting faction refuted the moderate faction's idea. In the eyes of Danzo and others, the situation of Sunagakure was actually not that dangerous. Previously, they used the death of the Third Kazekage to forcefully occupy Mount Kikayo, just to seek greater benefits. Therefore, the most important thing is to defeat Sunagakure before considering dealing with other villages. Otherwise, if time goes on, Konoha will face the same multifaceted combat situation as the previous ninja wars. The Third Hokage said nothing at the meeting. In fact, he knew very well what the intentions of Orochimaru and the fighting faction were. However, before Jiraiya gave him a clear reply, the Third Hokage could only continue to wait and see. Orochimaru said he has a way to take down Mount Kikayo within a month. The words of the Third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen caused the entire meeting to fall into silence. Several people from the martial arts faction were about to speak, but saw the first generation ninjas said lightly, "Then let's wait for the final result from Orochimaru. If we can't take Mount Kikayo within a month, then we will continue to discuss Sunagakure's movements." For a while, everyone in the fighting faction didn't know how to answer the conversation and secretly cursed Orochimaru in their hearts. Reading www.ukanshu.net. It's okay to set a deadline of 1 month. Assault on the Konoha camp. In Sunagakure's base camp, Ibizo, Yamaji Tachibana, and Ye Cang held a special operations team meeting. In the process, Ibizo proposed to take the initiative to launch a surprise attack on Konoha. The Yamaji family sand control technique is suitable for creating a large-scale sandstorm offensive, creating a geographical environment suitable for Sunagakure operations, and then counterattacking Konoha. Ibizo's words made Yamaji Tachibana and Hagakure a little surprised. They took the initiative to attack Konoha. Even if the geographical environment was created that was conducive to Sunagakure's combat, Konoha's overall strength was still stronger than Sunagakure. The real target of the surprise attack is Konoha's perception brigade. Konoha has the strongest perception ability among the 5 major ninja villages. Generally speaking, when the two sides fight, the information transmission speed of the entire Konoha is much faster than that of other ninja villages. This is where Konoha's strength lies, but Ibizo is planning to attack the perception brigade directly. We exchanged a very special ninjutsu from Shirogakure, which can block Konoha's perception system, and then prepare for the assassination. Can perception ninjutsu be blocked? Obtained from Shirogakure. Seeing the confused looks on the faces of several jounin, Ibizo said with a serious face, "Sunagakure and Shirogakure Alliance are conducting joint offensive and defensive operations against Konoha, and Shirogakure also handed us their newly developed special shielding perception technique." After leaving everything to Shirogakure, due to the tight war situation on Mount Kikayo, all personnel were rearranged. Except for the Yamaji family, which formed its own unit, the other classes were rearranged and organized into small teams during this allocation process. Shiraishi was promoted to Chunin and directly led the team. As for the members, the first information contained a photo of him wearing a cheongsam, which made Shiraishi feel a little bit irritated. Chapter 40, King Kong Barbie. The several teams that will lead the future surprise attack on Konoha. In fact, there are traces of Sunagakure's arrangements. Strong chakra control and excellent taijutsu skills are the main considerations among them. Shiraishi is the captain of the 4th mobile team. After looking through the member information, he found that the members of the team are basically the same as Shiraishi himself, a group of genin who have just been promoted to Chunin. Although many of them are civilians or ninjas from small families, they are still very capable. The members selected by Abizo were all carefully considered for Shiraishi, although one of them was very annoying to Shiraishi. Let's gather them first. On an abandoned shooting range, a total of 5 people, including Shiraishi, gathered on the shooting range. Among them, Shiraishi, who was the convener, at first glance looked at his future main teammates during this period in Kakaishin Point. First, there are 2 ordinary looking female jounin, named Saki and Hiruka. Although in Shiraishi's eyes, they are not as cute as Meraki, the faint smell of blood on their bodies indicates that these 2 female jounin have killed many people. Both of them are mainly in the style of physical assassination. Their ninja projection and use of props are similar, and their chakra attributes are wind attributes. The third person is a 15-year-old male jounin. He is a strong black man named Fukuhama. His chakra attributes are earth and wind. He comes from a small family in Sunagakure. The family secret technique is a special kind of hardening earth escape technique. This hardened fighting style of earth escape is a little more clumsy than Iwagakure, and its mobility is much worse, but it is also an indispensable force in the team. As for the last one, although he is about the same age as Shiraishi, he looks like a charming older brother. Beideo, a ninja born as a civilian, has wind chakra, is good at killing people with physical skills, and has flexibility that is no less than that of women. Beideo was wearing a black cheongsam. Although she looked very feminine and beautiful, her eyes were actually full of the aura of a queen. However, when she looked at Shiraishi, Beideo's eyes were full of love. However, judging from the data of the 5-person group, Kitajima is the strongest person in physical skills besides Shiraishi. Although he is a civilian ninja, he relies on his own consciousness to show his style on the Sunagakure battlefield. This is a special military food pill I developed, which can effectively replenish your chakra. Shiraishi handed each genin pills to each other. Soon as several chunin took the pills, Shiraishi thought about it. In the next period of time, we must speed up our cooperation and training, so we need to conduct a certain amount of battles. Test the various sword skills and fighting skills, as well as the strengthening of various basics, are to deepen the tacit understanding of cooperation among the team. Captain, I want to spar with you first. When Kitajima spoke, his body twisted around, making Saki and Hiruka burst into laughter. Fukuhama was also a little confused. Only Shiraishi looked indifferent, pushed up his glasses, and looked at Kitajima. Sure. As soon as Shiraishi finished speaking, Beideo's whole body was like a tight bowstring. He was pulled and then flicked, and his feet became strong, crushing the gravel on the ground, and used himself as a sharp arrow to shoot out point. Although he was a male, Kitajima's action shocked Fukuhama, who had never seen Kitajima's fighting style point so fast, so unrestrained. Faced with a violent storm on the North Island, Shiraishi took a step back with just his right foot, taking advantage of the situation to release part of the force, and guided the remaining force into the sole of his foot, allowing his center of gravity to stay behind point. The two sides quickly exchanged punches and kicks, during which Shiraishi wielded countless whirlwind knives from his palm and attacked. Beideo was fighting while retreating. He felt the power of the whirlwind knives created by the captain with one hand, and felt pain on his face. The captain is so strong, it makes me very happy. As Beideo spoke, the feminine feeling in his whole body became stronger. As the ghostly figure moved, the ferocious aura and power suddenly retracted to a certain point in the body, and suddenly rolled up, as if a ferocious beast exploded. Shiraishi saw this and quickly slashed his palm down. He raised the knife and dropped it, but Benideo disappeared and turned into countless phantoms, giving several other people an elusive feeling. So strong. In an instant, Benideo's chakra energy adjusted throughout his body, and his strength, momentum, and spirit instantly erupted, swelling his muscles, propping up his fascia, and turning his slightly bluish black skin into a hard stone. Fukuyama compared Benideo and himself, and found that Benideo was now much stronger than himself. What a King Kong Barbie. His torso echoed quickly, and his arms were wrapped around him. Trying to hold Shiraishi in his arms, "Captain, you are so cute." The moment he crushed the Beishi clay figurine, the real Beishi appeared from behind. "Bideo, you are very powerful, let's continue." After Shiraishi used the clay figurine clone to avoid being killed by Benideo, he continued to choose to compete with Benideo in physical skills. After all, this Kong Barber's strength was still very good and suitable for simulating a battle with him. Sunagakure obtained Shirogakishi's latest technique, which read in www.ukanshu.net can block Konoha's perception system. News of the technique was quickly transmitted back to Konoha. Orochimaru played with the information in his hand, showing a playful smile, with a hint of thinking in his eyes. Orochimaru himself had many methods of simply shielding his perception, but according to Orochimaru's understanding, a technique like Sunagakure that could be popularized on a large scale did not really exist. Although Shirogakure mainly focuses on assassination and perception and confusion, this is also effective on ordinary ninjas, not on those sensory ninjas. Therefore, Orochimaru was dubious about the news from Ibizo. If he had really mastered this technique, Sunagakure wouldn't have suffered so much in the battle at Mount Kakayo. Orochimaru was a scientific researcher, so it was really stupid for Sunagakure to confuse himself with such boring and false information. Just when Orochimaru was still wondering about the reliability of this intelligence, he received news that the area on one side of the Konoha camp had been attacked by Sunagakure. A small Sunagakure special team lurked into the location of Konoha's medical ninja team, seriously injured several medical ninjas, and then evacuated. Although it was only a small conflict, the sensing force unexpectedly did not receive any news in advance. Now Orochimaru began to pay attention to the reliability of this information. In the next few days, various areas of Konoha would be attacked by Sunagakure every night, and the sensing force did not receive any news in advance. This made Orochimaru, who was already suspicious, begin to seriously examine the reliability of the intelligence just now. In other words, these contents have successfully attracted Orochimaru. He is curious about how Sunagakure can avoid Konoha's perception and create so many sneak attacks. PS. Here are 2 updates. My body has not fully recovered yet. Seeing how hard I work, I would like to give you some recommendations. Chapter 41. Training and Running In. Sunagakure's attack on Konoha was an action planned by Ibizo. The core main force was a very special group of ninjas. They were the main force of Sunagakure in the Second Ninja War, but in the course of that war, they all became disabled. Sunagakure was very difficult during this period, and the number of medical ninjas was rare. Puppet masters acted as medical ninjas on the battlefield, using the puppet skeletons they prepared as arm or leg replacements. Unlike the Crimson Sand Scorpion puppet, although the broken parts of these people are replaced by puppet prosthetics, they are still living humans. They have been loyal to Sunagakure all their lives. When they learned about this mission, they actively asked to participate, and voluntarily removed all their limbs, and put on puppet prosthetics. Konoha's perception system is the most powerful in the ninja world today. In addition to conventional sensing ninjas, there are also Hyuga family and various biological detection methods. It is much more difficult to hide Konoha's perception than other ninja villages due to their physical disabilities. These veterans' chakra reaction fluctuations are suppressed to a very low level. Byakugan's perception is mainly based on the flow of chakra veins. Sunagakure's special attributes are easily discovered by the Hyuga family. A ninja with all his limbs severed relies on puppets to connect his whole body. Such an existence reduces the probability of being discovered. Combined with the special medicine prepared by Ibizo, it can suppress the chakra frequency in a short period of time. The whole body is armed with puppets and skeletons, which contain various poisonous mist and explosive detonating talismans. Despite this, these members of the skeleton team regard death as death, and they are willing to sacrifice everything for Sunagakure point. In order to prevent the failure of the mission, a large number of detonating talismans were installed inside the body. Once these ninjas were discovered to be ambushed during the attack, they would directly detonate the detonating talismans and blow up everything around them to avoid being discovered by Konoha point. The war was cruel, but in order for Sunagakure to be victorious, this group of special ninjas shouldered the very important strategic mission of Sunagakure and launched a series of attacks on the Konoha camp, confusing Orochimaru's judgment point. Orochimaru is a very smart person. He always likes to use data and facts to explain. Sunagakure's almost simple and inferior methods paralyzed Orochimaru and made him believe that Sunagakure had a way to shield the perception system point. To be precise, the superior Konoha would never have thought that Sunagakure would carry out such a very inhumane fighting method in their eyes. After all, any attacker would detonate the detonating talisman on the spot after being discovered, blowing up the surrounding area. After filling the lives of more than 100 special ninjas, Konoha finally believed that Sunagakure had the shielding perception ninja technique. Soon Konoha locals began to notify Kurigakure, hoping to stop aiding Sunagakure, including the special shielding technique. Ibizo cried. During this operation, he witnessed so many of Sunagakure's companions dying in battle, but he had no way to change all of this. The weak Sunagakure had to take extraordinary measures if he wanted to survive in the ninja world. The plan is being implemented smoothly, and the special training for the Shiraishi team is still continuing. As the main force on the Sunagakure battlefield in the future, the team's combat cooperation is crucial. After all, these teammates are the ones who have to be entrusted with their backs. Benideo, who looks like King Kong Barbie, actually seems to be a distant cousin to Benideo, Shiraishi's senior student in the past. Although they look very similar, their temperaments are completely different. This contrast makes it a little difficult for Shiraishi to adapt. Hiruka and Saki are classmates in their own class, and they have a good rapport with each other. The two mainly focus on projecting Senbon, and even Shiraishi can't compare to the speed of Senbon in one hand. As for Fukuyama, this ninja relies on the earth release great hardening technique and focuses on defense. Shiraishi needs him to strengthen his speed and reaction ability, otherwise he will only be a living target on the battlefield. Therefore, during the simulated battle, Shiraishi focused on training Fukuyama. On the training ground, Shiraishi was moving at high speed, and his whole body turned into countless after images surrounding Fukuyama from all directions. Seeing his captain's terrifying speed movement pattern, Fukuyama was a little dizzy for a moment. Fushin, you must speed up your reaction speed, and cannot rely solely on defense. Otherwise, you will suffer a loss when encountering speed opponents. Although Fukuyama's chakra attributes include wind and earth, this guy mainly uses earth escape. If he relies too much on thunder escape on the battlefield, he will easily be killed by directly breaking through the defense. Wind escape itself is a good complement to Fukuyama. After all, Feng Clay, but although Fushin has mastered a few simple wind escapes, he is not very good at using them in battle. While Shiraishi was still conducting special training for Fukuyama, the sharp-eyed Benideo seemed to notice Juin's arrival. Captain, Sister Juin is here. During the current war, the ingredients and materials were limited, so Maki couldn't make a very exquisite bento for Shiraishi, but she still insisted on sending a certain amount of lunch to Shiraishi every day, and later included Shiraishi's 4 other teammates. Jounin and Shirogakiji are both in the support team, providing treatment, sealing, and sensing all kinds of comprehensive support, which is relatively safe. But sometimes Shiraishi is still worried about comforting Jouin, so he specially asked her to strengthen her practice of telekinesis to improve her external defense level. Benideo was very carefree and directly called Jouin Sister Jouin. Originally, Jouin was very afraid of this strange boy wearing a cheongsam, but as time went by, the two became more and more familiar with each other, and even became good best friends. The food for today, Jouin prepared a box of steamed buns. When he opened the box, a stream of hot steam floated over. Benideo drooled at the sight. He quickly stepped forward to grab a steamed bun and ate it. Jouin's sister's cooking today was really delicious. The food he made was recognized, and Jouin showed a happy smile. Eat more if you like it. The Fillings, skin, and rolls of the buns were all made with great care, so she felt very good. When she saw someone recognizing her, Kitajima's appetite was even greater than that of the big man Fukuhama, and he ate the buns in big gulps without any concern for his current image. On the contrary, Shiraishi continued to eat in a gentle manner as always, chewing the buns carefully and reading a book. Jounin was a little helpless about Shiraishi's studiousness. He stepped forward and handed the second bun to Shiraishi. Don't read while eating, putting away the rolled buns. Shiraishi smiled awkwardly. Sorry, I was fascinated by this biography of Uchiha Madara. Our captain is a reading enthusiast and reads all kinds of books. By the way, I have a few good books here. Captain, you can try reading them. I guarantee that they will open the door to a new world for you. Throughout the decades of history of the entire ninja world, Konoha has had a profound influence. Whether it is the establishment of the medical ninjutsu system or the institutional training of ninja schools, it is all related to Konoha. The more Shiraishi gets to know Uchiha Madara and the Uchiha family behind him, the more he feels the horror of the blood family. However, according to observation, there is no Uchiha family emblem in the Konoha camp this time, which means that they are not participating in the war. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42, Countdown. 1 month is coming. After this period of time, Konoha has been advancing steadily, and all the barriers under Mount Kikayo have been cleared by Konoha. At the same time, Sunagakure seems to be ready to take action. Sunagakure will surprise us. In the Konoha camp, Orochimaru's face was so cold. According to the information he received, there was a high chance that Sunagakure would take full action to destroy the entire Konoha sensing class. However, according to Orochimaru's usual habits, since he knew Sunagakure's target in advance, then something must be arranged to welcome Sunagakure. Tsunade was already used to Orochimaru's sneaky attitude. Since you know, why don't you strengthen the defense over there? If defense alone makes Sunagakure alert, it won't be any fun. I hope to completely destroy Sunagakure's defense and take this opportunity. Now that she understood that Orochimaru had already made arrangements, Tsunade gradually became impatient with his pretense. Then why did you come to me? I hope you will go to the perception class for support when the time comes. Although Orochimaru has arranged a lot of work in the perception class, without a shadow level expert in charge, it is still not safe enough. Regarding Orochimaru's suggestion, Tsunade directly refused. No, I still need to stay in the medical class. This medical class is Tsunade's hard work in Konoha over the years. Many of them are very outstanding medical ninjas. Their presence can reduce Konoha's casualty rate a lot. Once she is transferred casually, what will happen to the medical class? If something happens to it, the medical class is no less important than the perception class. In addition, the medical class now has a lot of work, and Tsunade cannot escape it. I will arrange to give each squad leader a ninja card. Konoha, as the force that collects the most cards in the ninja world today, uses ninja cards mainly for protection. Orochimaru borrowed so many cards from Danzo's roots in one go, just to let Tsunade go to the perception class, to help with defense. With the colorful cards in front of her, Tsunade naturally understood their functions. This thing was very famous in the ninja world. Although she didn't know its specific purpose, its powerful protective effect and indestructible characteristics made the cards a collection object for major ninja villages. With the protection of this card, the survival probability of ninjas can be greatly enhanced, making Konoha's winning rate even higher. In order to conquer Mount Kikayo, Orochimaru allocated all these cards to his medical team. It is obvious that he will take big actions on Mount Kikayo next. Seeing Orochimaru taking out so many cards, Tsunade hesitated for a moment and finally nodded and agreed to the matter. While Sunagakure and Konoha were gearing up for each other, Shiraishi was conducting his own tests on a certain peak of Mount Kikayo. The number of cards has increased again. Konoha is really, it is clear that the war is getting more and more urgent, but Shiraishi still implements his plan. In addition to practicing, Shiraishi also insists on developing some new things, such as the small desert pyramid rolling in front of him. Using the techniques he mastered, Shiraishi aggregated the sand to create a triangular sand tower and introduced the chakra energy of the sand gathering technique and the treasure gathering technique into it. Soon the small triangular sand tower began to react. The sand tower expanded little by little, standing on the ground like a small pyramid. During the continuous rotation, it stored a part of the chakra energy converted from the collected sand. Soon with an explosion, the pyramid suddenly shattered. It failed. The calculation failed again, but Shiraishi was not discouraged at all. After all, what he currently had at his disposal was limited, and he could not yet fully produce it. The ninja world of this era already has various industrial technologies. Although it is mainly used to assist the ninja world in combat, Shiraishi got inspiration from some household computing appliances and created such a simulated small sand tower. At present, it is only a preliminary idea. In the future, Shiraishi will perform more calculations and transform the sand tower into a multifunctional device that combines computational analysis, chakra amplification and intelligence collection. His glasses contain very powerful computing functions, but Shiraishi actually doesn't fully believe in the equipment he has, so subsequent preparations are also in progress. The strong can control the devil, while the weak can only be enslaved by the devil. When Shiraishi thought of this, he quickly gathered sand into a tower with his hands, and then turned into two small triangular sand towers, which were projected to the area below under the control of telekinesis within a simple control area. A small triangular sand tower can undertake limited work, but it can still accelerate the transformation of its own sand into chakra, and then establish a small-scale perception network. After the perceptual network was laid, Shiraishi seemed to notice that someone was coming and slowly dissipated in the dust. Hey, where's that kid? Shanji. Lingzi arrived at Shiraishi's training place. He wanted to find out what this kid was messing with, but he didn't get anything. In the airflow of billowing sand and dust, Shanlu Lingzi's face looked a little ugly. He didn't expect that he would lose that kid in the windy and sandy environment. I don't know why, but Yamaji Ryuko hates this kid Shiraishi. Reading www.ukanshu.net has always wanted to cause trouble for him. She saw him running here often a while ago, so she kept a close eye on him. As a special jounin, although Yamaji Ryuko's puppet technique is inherited from the red sand scorpion, it is actually more of a sand control technique. Unexpectedly, today this kid completely disappeared from his range of perception. Shiraishi chose to disappear at this time to avoid a head-on conflict with Yamaji Ryuko. Anyway, this woman was a brain-dead person, and Shiraishi was too lazy to have any interaction with her. When Shiraishi returned to the camp, Ibizo happened to be flipping through the scrolls. Sunagakure's raid was about to begin soon, and Ibizo was making final preparations. Seeing Shiraishi appear, Ibizo couldn't help but sigh. This guy has so many tricks up his sleeve. The plot against Konoha this time is mainly because this brat makes plans behind his back, and then he executes them specifically. In Konoha, in addition to the perception class, there is also a powerful medical system. Compared to the perception class, where there are many powerful members of the Hyuga family, only Tsunade is the most powerful in the medical class. After this period of exaggeration, Orochimaru may have already confirmed that Sunagakure's target is the perception class, because Sunagakure has the means to shield perception. Therefore, priority is given to those in the perception class. Orochimaru will also take action against Sunagakure for this, and even Orochimaru will choose this time to attack Sunagakure, so Orochimaru cannot escape, and the perception team needs a strong shadow level person to set up defenses. Therefore, the probability of Tsunade being transferred to the sensory class by Orochimaru is very high. Although Ibizo is not sure why Shiraishi is so sure, the analysis shows that the probability of Tsunade not being in the medical class is indeed very high. In fact, this time when Sunagakure acted against Konoha, the beheading target was not the perception class, but the medical class that Konoha was proud of. Everything is ready. Chapter 43, Black Mist. Early January of Konoha 44. Sunagakure launched a comprehensive counterattack against Konoha. The Yamaji family dispatched many elite jounin and activated the sand control technique at the same time. In an instant, the sky was filled with wild sand that swept across the entire periphery of Mount Kakayo. A huge desert torrent rolled in, and the Konoha camp was trapped in a desert environment for a while. Sunagakure made a strong preemptive strike, and Konoha's top management quickly ordered all parties to adjust preparations for war. When a large number of counterattack techniques were ready to be launched, they saw countless hidden weapons and thousands of coins pouring down from the sky. Orochimaru stuck out his tongue and sneered several times. Ibizo is really bold. Sunagakure dares to attack in such a state. Konoha clearly knows how strong Sunagakure is. Now the offensive seems huge, but how many times can it last? As long as they can survive Sunagakure's attack, the next step will be Konoha's comprehensive counterattack, which is a reflection of the gap in strength between the two sides. As for the perception team, Tsunade personally took charge of guarding against Sunagakure's attack, while Orochimaru made a psychic summons on the front line and sent several giant snakes to meet the enemy point in the torrent of violence. The Shiraishi team also set off with the main force. As a mobile advance team, their target was not actually the Konoha sensing ninja area, but the medical team. Compared to others, Shiraishi was more certain about the location of the medical squad, because during this period, the number of cards that appeared in the Konoha camp increased a lot, and they were very scattered, with almost one card per person. There is no centralized card, but it is scattered instead. It is obviously not used for offense, but to use the characteristics of this card to protect ninja tools. Apart from a few high-level officials of Konoha, who else is so important? Only medical ninjas. Coupled with Ibizo's information, Shiraishi also confirmed that Konoha gave most of the skill cards to the medical team as a kind of self-defense ninja tool. In fact, this kind of invulnerable card has indeed improved the survival rate of ninjas in the medical class on many battlefields. This is why Tsunade is willing to sit alone in the sensing class. It's Sunagakure, the main area where the medical team is concentrated. When the main force of Sunagakure's advanced team appeared at the medical team camp, Konoha responded quickly. Other teams quickly came to provide support, and the two sides started a melee around the camp point from the very beginning. Benideo has a ferocious face, punching out with powerful black missiles, carrying violent destructive power, while Fukuyama from behind assists Benideo in strengthening his output and destructive power. Saki and Hiruka provided simple support, with a large number of Senbon projections almost injuring many Konoha ninjas facing Sunagakure's crazy attack. Several medical ninjas in Konoha began to retreat. Although most medical ninjas are currently working in different teams, there are still many logistical medical ninjas in the medical class camp point. The leading medical ninjas were also strong Chunin themselves. They quickly organized everyone to resist, and continuously sent out signals for help. After a while, some ninjas from nearby Konoha arrived. Outside the Konoha base camp, Ibizo personally took action, and the force and giants rushed towards the Konoha camp step by step with destructive postures. Upon seeing this, Orochimaru summoned the giant snakes to fight. Countless puppets fell from the sky and were dropped in the Konoha camp. Generally speaking, for Sunagakure, puppets were extremely valuable weapon resources. This kind of throwing into battle regardless of the cost represented Sunagakure's determination. Old guy, you are so willing. Orochimaru's figure was like a ghost, as if he was entangled by a poisonous snake. But Ibizo responded coldly, activating his chakra, and the force and giants fell down at the same time with their fists dancing. At this time, a huge ball of sunlight fell from high altitude. As a representative of the frontal assault, the burning escape Ye Cang attacked the Konoha base camp with the most violent attitude. The fire swept the area instantly. In the flames, Ye Cang used his hands to activate huge scorching energy, constantly tearing at Konoha's defense line. However, soon a special Hyuga family strongman appeared in Konoha and fought with Ye Cang to contain him. Although the jounin of the Hyuga family is not as strong as Ye Cang, his Byakugan ability and many years of fighting experience have temporarily prevented Ye Cang from exerting his full strength. This is Konoha, with many families and strong men. After Ye Cang was restrained, Sunagakure's offensive momentum weakened, but after the mobile brigade including Shiraishi infiltrated into the camp, it had already created huge chaos in Konoha. Many senior members of the Yamaji family, including Yamaji Juksin, are working hard to activate sand control techniques to create a favorable geographical environment for sand hiding point while senbon, kunai, shuriken and other weapons were attacking each other. Shiraishi rushed towards one of the Konoha ninjas who was conducting battlefield command at an extremely ghostly speed. White card. Reading completed. Sensing Shiraishi's appearance, the Konoha ninja turned around and prepared to project kunai. However, Shiraishi's silver sword was very fast, and the whirlwind knife quickly stirred up the airflow in an extremely terrifying explosive vortex state. Compared with other types of ninjas, medical ninjas have slightly poorer actual combat capabilities. Of course, there are some rare exceptions for Tsunade. Most medical ninjas on the battlefield work in logistics and have limited self-protection capabilities. Facing the direction in which Shiraishi's silver sword was thrust, the Konoha ninja gritted his teeth and prepared to use the card's characteristics to block the sword. At the same time, he formed seals with his hands to prepare for a counterattack. The explosion of the sword piercing the heart quickly ended the battle. In an instant, the card was reduced to rubble, and the Shiraishi silver knife pierced the medical ninja's heart very fiercely. With a look of astonishment, Konoha's medical ninja could not imagine why his card was invalid. His brain had no time to think. Reading www.ukanshunet. But Shiraishi was not reassured that his opponent was not dead, so he quickly turned the silver knife and crushed his heart. Unlock the skill. Ice skill Black Mist. The reading system inside the glasses showed that this white card with cyan lines was the ice type transformation skill Black Mist, ice type, according to the unlocking requirements in the system. Must master the 2 chakra attributes of wind attribute and water attribute. Unlike in the ninja world, where ice escape requires the combination of 2 chakra attributes to produce blood succession, the conditions for unlocking ice moves here only require Shiraishi to master both attributes at the same time. The effect of this move is to spit out special black mist energy, which can return all abilities of both combatants on the field to their original point. It deprives the opponent of its strengthening and amplifying abilities, and also has a visual disruptive effect. Although it doesn't have any offensive type, it is an excellent auxiliary technique. The glasses system showed that there were 3 Konoha ninjas with cards around them, and they were all hovering nearby. Shiraishi stared at the video practice of converting skills into jutsu, memorizing the key points of this jutsu over and over in his mind. Ice escape Black Mist technique. During the process of quickly forming seals with his hands, Shiraishi activated the Black Mist technique. In an instant, a strange dark mist spat out from Shiraishi's mouth and quickly spread throughout the Konoha camp. Since it was the first time he had mastered the Black Mist, Shiraishi knew that the maintenance time could not be sustained, so the sand gathering technique speeded up the operation, and he used the Black Mist multiple times to superimpose the crazy seals in the silent darkness. Several Konoha ninjas with good perceptual abilities looked very horrified because they found that their perceptual detection abilities had been greatly weakened. During the flashing of the silver sword, Shiraishi, who had ended the spread of black mist many times, watched the battle indifferently. The knife opened a trembling prelude in the black mist. PS. Please recommend and support in the new week. Chapter 44. At Tsunade. Surrounded by black mist, Konoha ninjas tried to rely on the support of the sensing ninjas on the scene, but under the cover of this black mist airflow, the bodies of several sensing ninjas always felt a little cold, and their skin cells seemed to be penetrated. With this strange ability weakened, the ability of the sentient ninja was extremely limited, and the scene was in chaos. Sunagakure also disrupted the situation. And soon Shiraishi used chakra lines to secretly contact Benideo, and said that this was a relationship between him and his new technique. The captain is the captain, and a single trick can lead to such a big battle. After confirming that this was Shiraishi's operation, Kitajima and the entire Sunagakure team continued to attack. Although the black mist blocked the line of sight, it did not mean that the battle would stop. Various fighting and weapon confrontations soon came from the black mist. Clink. This jutsu is somewhat similar to Shiragakure's jutsu, but the nature of chakra seems to be a bit special, and the temperature of the mist is lower than that of ordinary Shirogakure. In the distance, Orochimaru saw the black fog surrounding the medical team area, which gave him the illusion that this attack was not Sunagakure but Shirogakure, which made him look interested. Is this the technique that blocks perception? If this is the case, then it means Shirogakure and Sunagakure are really colluding together. Ibizo did not answer Orochimaru's question. Two of the sand giants behind him were destroyed, and the remaining two continued to attack crazily. The two continued to fight each other with ninjutsu, testing each other's depth point. These huge black mist, could it be a new technique that boy Shiraishi has been experimenting with recently? The strange black mist spread, and Konoha quickly formed back-to-back formations to deal with it instead of fleeing in panic. Shiraishi was not surprised. After all, it was the strongest ninja village, and had excellent qualities in all aspects. Shiraishi took advantage of this time to activate the card positioning on his glasses. Soon, among the 3 remaining cards around him, there were 2 green and 1 white point. Compared with white and blue, the green card reading efficiency takes about 5 seconds. Shiraishi thought of this and headed to the location of the white card first point surrounded by black mist. A jounin from the medical class and his 2 companions were attentive to each other. As a newly qualified medical ninja, the boy watched the changes in the surrounding situation very nervously. Suddenly, a strange wolf howl sounded, which looked very strange and terrifying in the black mist. As several genin pressed closer to each other, a whirlwind shot out. As the 3 of them dealt with it separately, the wolf howl became more urgent. Almost at the same time, a large number of wolf howls appeared in the black mist, and the desert blood wolf group summoned by Shiraishi launched a surprise attack on the Konoha ninjas in this area. During the fierce melee, the young medical ninja companion was suddenly approached by the blood wolf and bit his neck. Shiraishi's blood wolf was very fast. He bit off half of the neck meat in almost an instant and left. Facing his seriously injured companion, the medical ninja did not hesitate and used healing techniques on the girl of about the same age on the spot. Hold on, Mei, leave me alone. Shiraishi watched the movements of Konoha coldly in the black mist. The force of the blood wolf's bite was deliberately not to completely kill the Konoha female genin. Only in this way could the medical ninja do his best to treat his companions. As the card appeared in the reading range, Shiraishi silently turned on the reading mode of his glasses and pointed the silver knife in his hand at the man's back. The knife was pointed at the back of the boy's head, but he heard the boy's voice. Zaomei, it will be fine soon. I will continue to eat the bento you made. Sweat was dripping from his forehead. Although it was very hard, the medical ninja did not regret it and treated the girl without hesitation. Shiraishi seemed to be touched by this sentence. You and I are different. The moment the girl was cured, Shiraishi's silver knife was inserted into the forehead of the medical ninja. The mixed red and white blood shone with a cold silver light under the light of the silver knife. In the girl's pale and blurred consciousness, her entire forehead was pierced, and her eyebrows were pierced. Scratched. His expression was frozen at this moment. After stabbing the medical ninja, who looked to be about the same age as Shiraishi, with a knife, Shiraishi's knife also stabbed into the girl's chest. In the skill unlocking system, a white card with a blue border quickly appeared, showing that the skill attribute was water. Flying water shuriken, like bubble, is the initial skill of the water system. The skill explanation shows that this move is a shuriken made of the power of water. Continuous attacks will definitely preempt the attack. Forced locking of skills, whether it's black mist or flying water shuriken, they are both initial difficulty skills, and it takes a certain amount of time to learn simple skills and gain full proficiency. It was the first time I mastered the black mist, so the duration was limited. The surrounding black mist dissipated little by little. Just as Shiraishi was preparing to evacuate, he heard a sharp woman's violent voice. Go to hell. The violent fist suddenly exploded all the black mist airflow around him. The silver knife in Shiraishi's hand had no time to retract and was exposed around the entire Konoha camp. It has to be said that Shiraishi's killing method is very shocking, killing 2 people with 1 blow, and this young medical ninja is obviously trying his best to save his companions. It is self-evident how much impact this scene has on Tsunade. This knife also succeeded in causing a slight change in the face of Tsunade, one of the 3 ninjas of Konoha. Especially the blood on the white silver knife made her feel a little uncomfortable, but the aura on Tsunade's body was still very terrifying. Feeling the soaring chakra power of the woman opposite, and the exaggerated destructive power that could destroy the black mist with 1 punch despite completely ignoring the characteristics of the black mist, Shiraishi was sure that he was no match. You read www.ukanshu.net without any unnecessary nonsense. Tsunade walked majestically in the direction of Shiraishi. The violent force that burst out gave people an unavoidable and intense chill. Captain, retreat first. Fukuyama and Kitajima acted at the same time. The two stood in front of Tsunade at extremely fast speeds. During the process of expansion of their body's skeletal muscles, they tried to resist Tsunade's fist with the hardening method of earth escape. However, the latter's explosive power was beyond the capabilities of two jounin. Estimated point. Tsunade's fist, without any obstruction, was originally intended to smash the opponent's head directly, but it seemed that she didn't want to get blood, so she turned around and punched Fukuyama down, and then hit King Kong Barbie Kitajima with an elbow, and the latter was completely beaten during the flight. His face turned pale. The two of them were forced to break through by Tsunade, which fully demonstrated that this Konoha Sannin was an alien being among the medical ninjas. With such terrifying explosive power in combat, Ebizal, do you underestimate me? During the battle, Orochimaru showed a wanton smile. Even if the shielding perception technique is true, can't I guess your intention? What? Psychicism. Following Orochimaru's cold shout, countless seal formations and psychic formations suddenly appeared on the high ground of Mount Kikyo. Orochimaru didn't know when he arranged a psychic formation inside Sunagakure, causing countless venomous snakes to appear behind Sunagakure. Your main force is in the Konoha camp. Now Kikyo Mountain is empty. Although I don't know whether your real target is the perception class or the medical class, it doesn't matter anymore. Orochimaru looked at Ebizo with a sneer. The huge snake tide that appeared in the Kikyo Mountain was biting the rear front of Sunagakure. At the same time, Shiraishi was also facing the crisis of being hunted down by Tsunade. On the other hand, Tsunade, another one of the three ninjas, was constantly erupting in anger, all focused on Shiraishi. Chapter 45. I have a secret technique. Do you want it? On the chaotic battlefield, with the appearance of Tsunade, Sunagakure began to waver. During the past Ninja World War, Princess Tsunade's name was so loud that even Chiyo was afraid of the legendary female ninja. On such a battlefield, the encounter was tantamount to putting great pressure on Sunagakure. The speed of Tsunade's fist remained unchanged, and she attacked Shiraishi. The latter's body quickly twisted and made very clever evasive movements under the control of telekinesis. However, Tsunade's attack was very fierce. When she turned around, her fist exploded like an explosion. The exploding fist, the riot and the impact airflow that shredded everything, gave people an unreal state before their eyes. Shiraishi seemed to smell the danger, that there might be no future. Not only was the destructive power of the fist, but the terrifying pressure generated by Tsunade's murderous intent was tangible, giving Shiraishi the illusion of being unable to resist, making him almost breathless for a while. Is this the air pressure generated by the Sannin's full strength? Thinking of this, Shiraishi controlled his own chakra fluctuations, and the meridians all over his body were tightly closed. Goosebumps were clearly visible and had not disappeared. There was unspeakable fear, and tension in his heart, but these merged into a strong fighting spirit. Unable to distinguish true from false murderous intent, Tsunade's whole body was filled with the most shocking scene. You must never back down. The silver knife in his hand quickly pierced his palm, causing blood to splash everywhere. Tsunade's expression suddenly changed. While the power of the fist was weakened by 3 points, Shiraishi received Tsunade's punch head-on. Several ribs in his body were broken, and he suffered heavy internal injuries. It was difficult to stand up. However, Shiraishi did not give up. He used the sand gathering technique and the high-speed movement of Shiraishi to desperately distance himself from Tsunade. At the same time, while retreating, he continued to spit out circles of black smoke. But one black mist is not enough. Soon Shiraishi forcibly used the second black mist, the third black mist, the fourth black mist. It took 6 times to barely cover the surrounding area, and Sunagakure also got a key opportunity to retreat. Several leading captains decisively issued the order to retreat, and Shiraishi also asked Saki and Hiruka to leave with the seriously injured Fukuyama and Kitajima. Team leader. After briefly relieving the heavy injuries in his body, Shiraishi gritted his teeth and said, Tsunade's target is me. You should leave quickly. The Existence of Tsunade shows that there is a problem with Ibizo's plan and his own, and the situation for Sunagakure is now very dangerous just as Shiraishi deduced. Countless psychic formations emerged on Mount Kikayo, and the previous operation of the medical team did not go as smoothly as expected. Although it caused some losses to Konoha, the impact was very small. On the contrary, because Sunagakure put all its main forces on the front line, resulting in a void in the defense point, a large number of venomous snakes and various ambush ninjas appeared on Mount Kikayo and launched a suppressive attack on Sunagakure's rear. Compared with the losses of Konoha's medical class and perception team, Sunagakure's puppet masters and pharmacists, who were already short of manpower, suffered a major blow from Konoha Point Jounin. Shirogakiji is facing a huge crisis. While the seal scroll is dancing, Jounin uses the inner scroll technique to fight Konoha, while Shirogakiji's puppets circle quickly, constantly blocking the direction of the poisonous snake point for a moment. The situation in Kikayo Mountain was even more chaotic than in the Konoha camp. Ibizo gritted his teeth when he saw this, and the mud and stone giant behind him transformed again, turning into a more powerful black mud and stone giant. To fight Point Konoha's attacks from both front and back almost caused Sunagakure's morale to plummet. Shiraishi and Ibizo were anxious. If things continued to get worse like this, then Sunagakure's only remaining countermeasures would be. Just when Shiraishi was meditating, Tsunade shouted angrily, and the powerful impact produced by her fist almost instantly dispersed the black mist created by Shiraishi. There's something weird about this mist. Although Tsunade succeeded in destroying the black mist with her own strange power, the remaining cold air and frost still interfered with her fists to a certain extent. This strange method, coupled with Shiraishi's continuous ability to spit out black mist crazily when he just retreated, made Tsunade almost suspected that the Jinchuriki of Sunagakure village was on the other side. Tsunade soon denied Shiraishi's identity as a Jinchuriki. As she examined Shiraishi more, Tsunade became more and more certain that the boy opposite him was difficult to deal with. Forcibly suppressing her fear of blood, Tsunade returned to her usual indifference and said, "Kit, are you from the Minazuki family?" The first words Tsunade spoke, she tried to cause some emotional fluctuations within Sunagakure. The name of the famous blood successor family of Shirogakure village, coupled with the chilly feeling in the white stone and black mist just now, really reminded people of Minazuki family. It's just a simple chakra attribute combination technique. In this regard, except for the Minazuki family, the snow ninjas of the land of snow also have similar methods, so Tsunade senpai is making too much of a fuss. Shiraishi seemed a little strange when he said this. After the attack just now, Tsunade's speed and explosive power were very strong, but why she chose to stay here and fight with him now? This made Shiraishi realize that it was strange. No matter what, you can't be distracted by Tsunade's rhythm. You must find a way to anger this Sanin and hold her back on the battlefield for Sunagakure. Holding down a Sanin Tsunade. Yu reads a book www.okanshu.net that plays a very crucial role in the entire Sunagakure Konoha war, because in a sense, Tsunade is more important to Konoha than Orochimaru. Recalling Betty Dao's usual jokes, Shiraishi thought for a long time and finally made up his mind. He said in an unhurried tone, "In addition to this technique, I also invented a technique for female medical ninjas. Tsunade senpai has a very powerful amplification technique." These words successfully attracted Tsunade's attention, and even Saki and Hiruka set their sights on Shiraishi. A strong increase for female medical ninjas. Could it be said that it can double the chakra control of female medical ninjas? Even though Tsunade was trying her best to suppress her condition because of her fear of blood, she couldn't help but be attracted by the content of Shiraishi's topic. Vaguely aware that something was wrong there, Tsunade said with a slightly mocking tone, "It seems that you have developed a lot of techniques, Kit. When the female glands are in certain states, they will secrete a white or slightly yellow liquid that is opaque and contains rich nutrients." Without any scruples about Tsunade's increasingly terrifying gaze, Shiraishi continued, "This technique can convert these substances into life energy. Once the technique is performed, teammates can drink fresh supplementary fluid on the battlefield to strengthen their own vitality. That's why I call it drinking milk." It's especially suitable for Tsunade Senpai, so that your identity as a medical ninja will be more sacred. Shiraishi ended calmly, without caring about the gazes of onlookers on both sides of the battlefield. Shiraishi's words almost completely drove Tsunade into a state of rage. I am going to kill you. I would like to add that the Tsunade of this era is completely different from the giants of later generations. In short, Shiraishi's words are very hurtful. PS. Please support the new book and recommend it. Chapter 46, Chase. Because of her status as a medical ninja, Tsunade was respected by ninjas from all over the world. There was no one who didn't call her Tsunade Heim. She was such a big shot, and being humiliated by Shiraishi in this way made Tsunade completely explode. I didn't expect that our captain is so powerful. He even dares to tease the famous Sannin of Konoha casually. It's really amazing. Betty Deo, who was still in a coma, opened his eyes wide and showed a very naughty smile. Captain, I'm your crazy fan now. Not only Katajima, but also many other ninjas of the same age were suppressing their laughter. They didn't take this joke seriously. They simply thought that Shiraishi was teasing Tsunade. But they didn't dare to laugh casually, otherwise it would be bad if they were targeted by the terrifying Sannin. After all, Tsunade was now in a state like a crazy beast. Looking at Tsunade, who was running quickly, Shiraishi's whole body of telekinesis lightly covered the surroundings, and at the same time, black mist spurted out again. Tsunade casually broke through the black mist. Shiraishi relied on high-speed movement and telekinesis to fully activate, and ran away, running quickly on the battlefield. Behind him, Tsunade looked like a wounded beast, staring at Shiraishi. This woman is really terrifying. The black mist has such strong weakening side effects that she can break it with just a punch. Soon, on the chaotic battlefield between Sunagakure and Konoha, the chase between Shiraishi and Tsunade almost became a special scene. Shiraishi's escape route is suspected of taking Tsunade away from the battlefield. Kit, can you only run away? Your Excellency is the Sannin of Konoha. I don't think I'm a match for you, but does Tsunade Senpai really not consider using secret techniques in exchange? Shiraishi was always alert as he spoke, and Tsunade's speed suddenly increased again, showing her frantic attitude. This guy Tsunade, or Orochimaru, who also noticed this scene, looked very gloomy. Tsunade's role in this battle against Sunagakure was crucial, because he urgently needed a strong shadow level man to hold down the battle and create time for Orochimaru to cast forbidden techniques. But now his teammate was chasing a kid all over the world, which really made Orochimaru very irritated. With one hand, he grabbed countless venomous snakes and bit Shiraishi with violent range. Realizing that the crisis was coming, Shiraishi found that he could not avoid it. Orochimaru's lock was so fierce that he could kill Shiraishi at almost any time. Don't even think about it. Your opponent is me. Yakira's Fireball and Ebiza's clay figure took action at the same time, blocking Orochimaru's killing blow for Shiraishi, but Orochimaru burst into laughter. It seems that you value the kid being chased by Tsunade. The black mist that Ebizo and Hayakira, the two Sunagakure heavyweights, wanted to protect, turned out to be his masterpiece. For a moment, Orochimaru stuck out his tongue. Kill him. Yes, Lord Orochimaru. Two cold voices sounded at the same time, and several figures flashed behind Orochimaru, rushing towards Shiraishi and Tsunade. Orochimaru, you two elites from the roots of Konoha are enough to deal with a Chunin brat. Sunagakure's combat power was very tight. If Shiraishi hadn't transferred Tsunade alone, Sunagakure would have been completely defeated. He didn't expect that Orochimaru and other hidden subordinates would not move. Ye Cang was still fighting with the strong man of the Hyuga family. At the same time, several small ninja family members in Konoha activated special battle formations to cooperate with the Hyuga family to carry out auxiliary work. The chase on the battlefield continued. The interference of Shiraishi's black mist, coupled with the high-speed movement and Tsunade's fear of blood, formed a stalemate. Although Tsunade tried to catch up with Shiraishi several times, scenes of blood and flesh flying around her from time to time appeared, which affected her. In Tsunade's state. Although Tsunade's speed has not slowed down, her momentum has begun to weaken little by little. This series of details allowed Shiraishi to draw a very bold conclusion. Could it be that Tsunade is very afraid of battlefield casualties, or blood. This is a very absurd conclusion. Who would believe that Tsunade, the famous Sennin of Konoha, would be afraid of blood and death? It was discovered many times that Tsunade was not in the right state. The two of them stayed away from the battlefield completely. When they arrived in a wilderness, Tsunade speeded up. After all, there were not so many bloody scenes around her, allowing her to gradually return to the original Tsunade. Kit, your chakra is running out. As a medical ninja, Tsunade's eyes were so sharp that she could tell at a glance that Shiraishi had finally reached the point where his chakra was almost exhausted. It's indeed not enough, but Shiraishi suddenly turned around. The two sides were at an extremely close distance. Shiraishi's silver knife once again cut a second wound on his palm. The moment blood splashed on Tsunade's face, her whole body seemed to stiffen. I'm really afraid. The blood temperature was still there, and Tsunade was suddenly in an extremely lost state. After the stimulation of the blood before and just now, Tsunade's blood panic completely broke out, and her body was unable to move for a while. Taking advantage of Tsunade's distracted state, Shiraishi quickly opened the system in his glasses and accidentally discovered that Tsunade, one of the three ninjas of Konoha, did not have a card point. Suddenly, a sharp shadow flashed past, carrying a powerful wind blade, and falling at a high speed. Shiraishi instinctively turned around with his sword in hand to block it. The silver sword resisted this punch, and then there was another ninja behind him, projecting several senbons. Shiraishi's eyes were very solemn, and a triangular sand tower formed in his hand and shot out quickly. During the process of detonating the senbons, black mist spurted out again. In his current state, Shiraishi's own sand gathering technique is gradually unable to transform. Fortunately, these two root ninjas are not Tsunade, and they have not yet been able to crush themselves with multiple stacks of black mist with one punch. Of course, Shiraishi's black mist can only be used once, unable to continue to superimpose, and was depleted until now, and my own chakra has finally bottomed out. Reading www.ukanshu.net. Being approached by this strange cold mist, the strength of the two people was weakened to a certain extent. The biting cold continued to affect their chakra operation. Feeling the danger of the black mist, one of the wind escape ninjas quickly formed a seal. Wind escape, great breakthrough. A powerful storm swept across the ground, and after sweeping away the black haze, Beishi disappeared in front of the two men without a trace. Take Tsunade-sama back first. Just as Shiraishi returned to the battlefield, the disaster at Mount Kakayo continued. Although the effect of the psychic array created by Orochimaru had ended, the exhausted Sunagakure had to face a comprehensive encirclement and attack by Konoha. However, Konoha is not feeling well either. Sunagakure's resistance is very tenacious. Tsunade-sama is out of shape and the medical team has suffered a certain loss. These are all losses for Konoha. In fact, the medical class ninjas who can obtain cards are all very good medical ninjas. Losing one will have many consequences. During the attack by Shiraishi's team, in addition to Shiraishi killing two, many members of the medical class suffered casualties. The battle has reached this stage, and sweat is dripping from Ibizo's forehead. He is still making judgments and analyzing the situation. If Sunagakure fails in this battle, not only Mount Kakayo will be lost, Konoha's fighting faction is bound to increase the outcome of the war. The armistice agreement will become more stringent, and a way must be found to get Konoha to withdraw its troops. However, Orochimaru, who has lost Tsunade as a support, still has a chance to reverse the situation, as long as he defeats him now. Also, thinking about Ibizo was Yamaji Tachibana, the leader of the Yamaji family. She controlled the giant sand wave to attack, and quickly joined Ibizo to prepare to jointly fight against Orochimaru. Aware of Sunagakure's intention, Orochimaru smiled, not afraid of the two of them at all. Two old guys, looking for death. Chapter 47, The Smell of Blood. On the vast Platicadon mountain, Konoha and Sunagakure fought fiercely, weaving a battle worthy of being recorded in the history of the Third Ninja World War. In the core area of the battlefield, the fight between Ibizo and Orochimaru reached a very tragic level, leaving many injuries on the two strong men. The violent flow of snakes, Orochimaru dancing in the wind, pushed the snakes to step sideways. As the poisonous snakes were coming, Ibizo quickly formed seals with his hands. During the process of blocking an earth escape technique, Orochimaru quickly destroyed the earth escape defense. The pheasant sword attacks Ibizo. Ibizo, are you anxious? Amidst Orochimaru's crazy laughter, Ibizo's chakra threads turned into invisible weapons and fought with the sharp pheasant sword. Mountain Road Jukesen activated the sand and dust technique, but Orochimaru channeled a giant snake. To stop him, Ibizo and Yamaji Tachibana held Orochimaru away, while Ye Cang and Konoha's large and small families jointly attacked. The leader of the Hyuga family was very powerful. The soft fist brought special defense methods to suppress Ye Cang's attack. Hagura and Ibizo were each restrained, while Shiraishi and Tsunade suffered multiple fractures in their bodies during the chase, and it was very difficult for them to stand up. Team leader Kitajima's weak voice emerged, and he looked up to see the Sunagakure mobile team successfully withdrawing and rejoining Shiraishi. In addition to the Shiraishi team, there are about 7 teams with more than 30 jounin, all of whom use quick attack taijutsu based fighting methods. Next, should we withdraw to Sunagakure Kikayo Mountain to assist in the defense? Mount Kikayo was attacked by an airborne attack from Konoha, resulting in a temporary loss of contact with the headquarters. Although several captains were Chunins like Shiraishi, the scene where Shiraishi had just come out to challenge Tsunade and survived was so shocking that they valued Shiraishi's opinion. No, attack the perception class directly. The unexpected answer made these Sunagakure ninjas a little surprised. At this point in the war, Shiraishi actually planned to launch a surprise attack on the perception class. Sure enough, he was someone who dared to mock Tsunade like that. Shiraishi quickly took out Ibizo's secret medicine, which can temporarily shrink the chakra frequency. Purely rely on your own physical strength to go to the possible areas of the sensory class to reduce the probability of being discovered. After entering the war, the location of the sensing squad will be adjusted at any time, so several captains of Sunagakure are also worried about the possibility of being surrounded. Then how do you know the location of the sensing class? I was chased by several Konoha Anbu in front of me. I deliberately left marks on their bodies to help me determine the location of their sensing squad. The area where dark parts are densely concentrated is also where the perception class may appear. However, Shiraishi lied on this issue. The real way to detect the location of the perception class is his own glasses system. From the beginning of the war to the present, there has been an area where many cards are concentrated and have not changed in the Konoha area. With Orochimaru and other big figures taking action, this area is most likely where the wartime perception team is located, and the cards are also their protective props. The Konoha sensing class, as Sunagakure was being attacked by Konoha, was located in a hidden command room at the rear. The sensing class summarized and processed all aspects of information. At the same time, in order to avoid Sunagakure's attack, a group of elite Anbu also stationed nearby. In fact, Shiraishi launched this offensive with great determination, because even if Tsunade was transferred, the strength of Konoha who remained might be much stronger than his own. Among the elite Anbu, there may be many jounin level beings, but it doesn't matter anymore. If nothing is done, my companions on Platikadon Mountain will really be in great danger. I have obviously said that I'm different from him, but why do I still feel the same way at this moment? Shiraishi clenched the silver knife in his hand, his expression very heavy. Captain, don't worry, they will survive. As Beideo spoke, he wrapped a large number of detonating charms around his body like bandages. Many other Chunin around him also made the same preparations to attack the Konoha sensing team. They did not think that this was an easy assassination. Wrong. Why is the smell of blood so strong? The smell of blood coming from the front was stronger than anywhere on the battlefield, and the expressions of Shiraishi and others changed slightly. With a bang, a corpse fell in front of everyone. The distorted face and frightened eyes revealed everything that happened to the deceased. It's Konoha's Anbu. What's going on? On the way there, more and more corpses of Konoha ninjas appeared, and the attackers displayed various weird killing methods, which shocked Shiraishi and others. Someone else is attacking Konoha. Is this possible? And using this method, this is Konoha, the strongest existence in the 5 major villages in the ninja world. Would someone use such a silent killing method to attack the Konoha sensing class during the war between Konoha and Sunagakure? As the smell of blood became stronger and stronger, Shiraishi and others endured the discomfort. When they stepped into the command room, a large number of sensory ninjas and Konoha died in different circumstances, and it was impossible to determine which force was responsible. Shiraishi's face was solemn, because what happened here was beyond his expectation. Perhaps there are forces that we don't know about in this world that have the ability to attack Konoha. These people were killed, but the cards were not taken away. Reading www.okanshu.net. The attacker's target was obviously not a card. Shiraishi quickly asked everyone to pack the information in the perception class. This is the intelligence analysis center. A lot of the information in it is very useful. Let's take it all away and then retreat quickly. In any case, Shiraishi was not willing to stay in this ghost place, but this intelligence and data would be very useful for the next war, so Shiraishi asked everyone to collect it, and he also started taking action point. While everyone was busy, Shiraishi came to a corpse and inspected it. He used chakra threads to pull out a card, and then used the same method to recover the 5 cards left by Konoha. If Konoha loses the information processing of the sensing class at the critical moment, it will inevitably lead to chaos. The original plan to completely crush Sunagakure and flatten the front line went bankrupt. Then Konoha and Sunagakure will only enter a more chaotic stalemate stage. The attacker's plan didn't go so well at first. After all, Tsunade was in charge, but unexpectedly Tsunade was restrained by a kid from Sunagakure and broke out to control blood. This gave the person behind the secret chaos in the ninja world an opportunity. A carefully planned massacre of Konoha's sensing class began. With the incident in the sensing class, serious problems arose in Konoha's entire communication and intelligence processing. Next, during the war, the strong man of the Hyuga family was attacked by an unknown masked man. After being severely injured and killed, Ye Cang quickly freed up his hands to attack Orochimaru with Ibizo and Yamaji Tachibana. The situation tilted again, and Orochimaru had no choice but to order a retreat. As the tide of VIPs and Konoha ninjas left, the people stationed in Mount Kikayo finally collapsed from exhaustion. Looking at the setting sun, Jounin gasped and looked pale. "Stone, how are you?" "I survived." Chapter 48. After the war. This phase of the confrontation between Konoha and Sunagakure Kikaisen ended with the mysterious forces attacking Konoha and causing the situation to collapse. This malicious method of controlling the balance of all parties in the ninja world gave Shiraishi a sense of crisis about the future. This assassination may have revealed to Shiraishi how deep the hidden water behind the ninja world is. Someone as strong as Konoha will be plotted. This is the ninja world. No one knows what will happen next moment, due to manpower shortage. Ibizo personally treated Shiraishi's injuries this time. When it came to this incident, Ibizo was actually very open-minded. For an old man of this age, he was used to all kinds of turmoil in the ninja world. This time it's just the beginning of another round. It may be other ninja villages, or it may be other crises, but this is not what we need to consider at the moment. Stabilizing the situation and speeding up negotiations with Konoha is the most important thing. Shiraishi was wrapped in various bandages and smeared with various medicines by several assistant pharmacists, and his body was almost in a state of immobility. Actually, Konoha is very weak now. The Kikayo Mountain War was earlier and more brutal than in history. Faced with Konoha's high density and strong attack, Sunagakure did not have a front collapse, causing this war to continue to suffer losses. But for Sunagakure, they were the beneficiaries of this incident. At least Konoha suffered losses and trauma, which were more serious than Sunagakure. Of course, Sunagakure neither admitted nor denied the attack on Konoha's sensing class. A large amount of information brought back by the perception team was quickly sorted and sent to Sunagakure village. Many of them were valuable information, which caused Sunagakure to praise Shiraishi's ability in this battle. Now the situation is starting to turn in favor of Sunagakure, and Sunagakure can get more dominant content in the next round of negotiations with Konoha. The meaning of Shiraishi's words is very clear. Now Sunagakure should find opportunities to continue to attack deep into Konoha. After all, Konoha is still very weak. With the multifaceted defense arrangement, it is easier to penetrate than before. This can also speed up the negotiation process, instead of just staying in a stalemate with Konoha and waiting for negotiations. This is not an operation. Ratsa doesn't want to continue to expand the war, especially she doesn't want to overly stimulate Konoha, a future ally. The Fourth Kazekage's calculations were very good, and Ibizo was actually a little unhappy. Since the Battle of Kakayo Mountain, Rasa had sent the Yamaji family to support him, but he himself continued to stay at the base camp of Sunagakure village, and made no move. It would be too ugly to see him, Ye Cang, and the Yamaji family frontline fighting Konoha, so obviously Konoha was having a very difficult time. The 1-month limit allowed the martial arts faction to bet too much. The special cards they had previously prepared suffered a lot of losses. The perception class and Anbu elites were also destroyed. Tsunade, one of the 3 ninjas, suffered from fear. The blood was made public, which was undoubtedly all bad news. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen, as the third Hokage, showed the courage of a Konoha giant at this time. He continuously sent more manpower to support Iwagakure's front line, and at the same time temporarily suppressed negotiations with Sunagakure. The third Hokage spoke at a very slow speed. Although Sunagakure temporarily holds Mount Kakayo, it does not mean they have won. Suppress the negotiation process with them, combat Sunagakure's fanaticism, and then slowly negotiate. Next, we will focus on the trends in Iwagakure. Kumogakure has been stabilized through negotiations. Kirigakure's coastline supply has been unable to go deep into the ninja world war due to various reasons. Therefore, the third Hokage used a slow strategy to deal with Sunagakure's trends as the #1 ninja village in the world. Konoha is full of talents. With the mobilization of resources from all aspects, it seems to announce to all parties that they have the ability to continue to open the second and third fronts, especially Jiraiya, the last of the 3 ninjas. Returning shows Konoha's attitude. How will Orochimaru and Tsunade deal with it? When Orochimaru was mentioned, the third Hokage's face darkened. If he hadn't been willful this time, why would Kikiyama and Sunagakure have been so passive? Now even Tsunade and the sensing class are on board. He, a disciple, is really inconvenient. Heartpoint in desperation, the third Hokage rubbed his temples. Let Orochimaru continue to watch over Sunagakure, and Tsunade will let her go back to the village to rest. Tsunade's homophobia was made public, and Konoha was deeply afraid that other ninja villages would be unfavorable to Tsunade, so they urgently transferred back the Senju princess. What's the reply from Kirigakure? The information about Shiraishi's black mist technique has now been presented to the third Hokage. It was confirmed that Kirigakure mastered this new technique. Konoha sent a liaison letter to hold Kirigakure accountable. In addition, let the Anbu pay more attention and investigate this newcomer Sunagakure. The third Hokage said faintly, holding a card in his hand that was almost turned into scrap metal. The original owner of the card was found on several ninjas who died in the medical team. It should be a protective card sent by Orochimaru. It is almost impossible for Shiraishi and his Sunagakure team to destroy the sensing class and a large number of Anbu elites, but Konoha still needs to investigate clearly. What's more, the state of the card made Konoha also be more vigilant. In Sunagakure's rest camp, Ibizo picked up a brand new Shiraishi assessment and suddenly asked, "Is the black mist you used on the battlefield a new technique you created yourself?" "It's a technique created by combining 2 chakra attributes. It has an ice attribute, but it's not quite there yet," Shiraishi briefly explained the principle. Ibizo nodded after hearing this. "It's a good thing that you have ideas to continue researching. You don't have to worry about some gossip." The emergence of the black mist technique made Shiraishi the limelight. At the same time, Tsunade's statement about the blood inheritance of the Minazuki family also made some unfavorable remarks about Shiraishi appear. Fortunately, Ibizo chose to believe in his disciple because Shiraishi developed 2 chakra attributes, water and earth, which he brewed with his own hands using a medicine vat. Could it be that his old eyesight could not tell that Shiraishi himself has the ice attribute blood successor? It was obviously Tsunade's plan. to drive a wedge between Sunagakure and Shiraishi, and these guys would believe it. The attitude of Ibizo, the important leader of the Elder Council, determined that this rumor would not have much impact on Shiraishi. Shiraishi was also glad that it was the right idea to let Sunagakure realize his own R/U0026D capabilities and potential. Otherwise, if he had gained these abilities for no reason, it would have been almost difficult to survive in an environment like Sunagakure's compared with the previous 2 times. This time Ibizo did not ask Shiraishi to hand over or exchange this technique. In terms of Shiraishi's attitude, Ibizo respected his own choice more. This slight change in attitude illustrates Ibizo's change of mind and the current protective attitude of the Sunagakure elders towards him. Master, I want to take a look at the volume regarding Shiraishi's general behavior. Ibizo smiled. Go ahead, you can't sit still anyway. With bandages wrapped all over his body, Shiraishi reluctantly stood up and walked to the camp area where Jounin was. Until the end of the battle, he had not met Jounin once. Although he knew that she was fine this time, Shiraishi still wanted to confirm her safety in person for some reason. In the glasses system, the information of the 5 cards was also unlocked one by one. Adding the black mist and flying water shuriken, Shiraishi obtained a total of 7 cards this time. PS. Please recommend. Please recommend. It seems that there are not many recommendation votes anymore. The new book needs support. Everyone should collect it. You have already suggested any typos or sentences in this chapter. I will correct them anyway when I see them. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49, White Stone Manufacturing. With a dark purple color and a purple border, the first card Shiraishi unlocked among the 5 cards was a purple grade card. This is also the card with the best quality besides Shiraishi's golden round pupil card. It took Shiraishi almost a whole day to read this card. Compared with the reading time of golden cards, the unlocking time of purple cards is much shorter this time, which is also related to the increase in Shiraishi's own chakra amount. This means that the next time Shiraishi unlocks the golden card, at least it won't take as long to read as the first time. The attribute area corresponding to the card is a very unfamiliar concept. The ghost system. The ghost system. Does it mean that the skill system in the glasses also includes soul type moves and methods? But think about it, since there is a superpower system that enhances mental power, it is normal to have a ghost system related to the soul as a brand new attribute classification. The ghost system classification is similar to the superpower system. They are both classified within the Yin Escape framework. Many skills require mastering Yin Escape before they can be unlocked. Compared to the superpower department, where half of the area is within the scope of ordinary illusions and half is within the framework of Yin Escape and the prerequisites must be learned, the ghost department seems to be more demanding. Except for a few moves, most of them must learn and master Yin Escape. Although Shiraishi has not yet developed his own Yin Escape, fortunately, this purple card skill happens to be one of the few moves that can be learned without mastering Yin Escape, and its value is of amazing purple quality. The difference between it and the golden round pupil card is that this move has no branches to improve skills and is a separate part like the sand gathering technique. Curse. This move is divided into 2 states. The first is when the Yin Escape mode is turned on, and in the process of transforming oneself into a ghost type, half of the vitality is lost, and a curse is placed on the enemy, causing them to be tortured by the cursed spirit. The second state is for non-ghost use. After the user casts the spell, his attack and defense will increase, but his speed will decrease at the same time. A very strange technique that improves offense and defense at the expense of one's own speed. At the same time, the seal sequence and chakra mobilization of the curse are very complicated and cumbersome. It is currently the most troublesome skill to convert into ninjutsu among all skill cards at present. Shiraishi has already mastered the technique of flying water shuriken and can simply simulate the appearance of a shuriken composed of water flow. However, the curse has just been unlocked, but it is very difficult to master. Just as Shiraishi was checking the skill simulation in his glasses, he had arrived at the camp, where Maki was. There are a lot of wounded soldiers in Sunagakure. After receiving simple treatment and bandaging, Maki and Shirogakiji are resting with their eyes closed. Sensing the familiar figure, Jounin suddenly opened his eyes. Stone. Ever since Shirogakiji called Shiraishi the nickname Stone, Jounin also started to follow suit. On the contrary, Shirogakiji changed his name and called Shiraishi by his real name, allowing Jounin to have such a very cute nickname. Although Jounin's mental state didn't look good, there were no serious injuries on his body. After Shiraishi stepped forward and checked carefully, Jounin's face suddenly turned red. Sorry for making you worry. I just wanted to check if you have any way to make lunch tomorrow. Hearing Shiraishi's words, Shirogakiji almost rolled his eyes. Does this guy know how to flirt with girls? Is there anyone who chats like this? Jounin was stunned at first, but soon showed a happy smile. Don't worry, I will prepare it for you tomorrow. That's not what you meant. I will prepare it for you tomorrow. After Beishi finished speaking, he ran away. He didn't know how to chat with girls in the first place, and his dialogue with Jounin made him very failed and embarrassed. Jounin, you should understand his thoughts now, right? Kindness. There is no need to express anything deliberately. It is enough for Jounin that some things can be felt by each other. But Jounin was more worried about another thing. When he lived alone in the past, he always ate out and never cooked any food. When it comes to cooking, Shiraishi himself is not good at it, but after searching through his glasses, he found a lot of information about the various customs in the country of the wind, as well as the selection of ingredients. Shiraishi made the simplest combination. Considering that Jounin now needs to eat a light diet, Shiraishi uses local materials and cooks some common fruits and vegetables. I'd like to borrow the kitchen. Sunagakure's kitchen is open air, and the weather is very hot. Shiraishi starts making food regardless of his injuries among the memory fragments of previous users stored in his glasses system. One of them was a pastry chef who loved to make spicy desserts. Shiraishi squeezed some of the special red and green fruits into fruit sauce and placed them there aside. Then the balls of rice flour were quickly shaped by Shiraishi and placed. After a series of movements, Shiraishi's slightly white palms were covered with white powder, giving people a very dreamy feeling. At first, the surrounding Sunagakure ninjas didn't pay attention to what Shiraishi was doing, but as his movements became louder and louder, many people soon gathered around to watch. Reading www.ukanu.net. After the Battle of Platikadon Mountain during this period, many people in Sunagakure got to know the most popular newcomer in Sunagakure village. Now, his every move has naturally aroused their strong interest. Is this making a new potion? But it doesn't seem to be the case. The ingredients Shiraishi chose were all very ordinary fruits and vegetables, and they didn't want to look like potions. It seems like they are making food. When Shiraishi prepared the red and crystal clear jelly sauce and sprinkled it on the tender and glutinous pink balls, the hearts of several female ninjas almost melted. Shiraishi, who can make such cute cakes, instantly ignites the girlish hearts of these people. After Shiraishi applied some special vanilla powder, a unique dessert was completed, giving everyone an extremely cute and gorgeous feeling. After putting the first snack into Sunagakure's special freezer for storing food, Shiraishi continued making the second dish. The box in which the food is assembled is a small wooden box carved by Shiraishi himself. Although the shape is very simple, Shiraishi's very serious and focused look while holding a silver knife during the carving process has won the favor of many people. At least from today on, Shiraishi starts to have fans in Sunagakure. The food was placed in the wooden box one by one. After 3 hours of intense cooking, Shiraishi finally finished all the dishes. When he took out the first pastry from the cold storage, the amazing pastry radiated from the whole body. The chill and aroma made many passers-by salivate. Looks very high-end. Picking up the wooden box of Shiraishi, he swaggered toward the camp where Jounin was, ignoring the looks of the people around him. Both Jounin and Shirogakiji were shocked, because Shiraishi's taking out the food in the wooden box was too subversive of their understanding of Shiraishi's past. Chapter 50. Big Stomach. Among Shiraishi's foods, the pastry was the first thing that caught his eye. When he picked up the spoon and carefully took the first bite, the eyes of other people around him were fixed on Maki and Shiraishi. Oh my god, these two people are so dazzling. Shirogakiji put on a pair of sunglasses at some point and didn't want to watch the interaction between Shiraishi and Maki. Even a bite of pastry would make him feel blind. For him, being teammates with these two people is really painful. Tasty. Jounin took the first bite very carefully, and the girl's eyes quickly brightened. After Fengchuan Kanan finished the pastry, he started to eat Shiraishi's other dishes. I have to say that female ninjas, especially female ninjas who have been on the battlefield, have a huge appetite. The food prepared by Shiraishi is actually 3 times the amount of ordinary people, but they are basically all eaten by one person. Realizing that he had eaten too many rolls, he covered his mouth. You are so awesome. How can you ask me to make bento for you in the future? I usually need to read a lot of books and study, and I don't have time to do it. How about I compile a note and you can study it? Shiraishi's suggestion was sincere, but his face turned red and he nodded. Hey, have you finished eating? At this time, Ibizo appeared from the camp. Looking at the stormy scene in front of him, his eyelids twitched. Ye Cang heard that you made a good pastry. I really want to take a bite, but it's not convenient for me to open my mouth. There is another copy in the cold storage at the camp. Then, I'll get it myself. The story of Aishi transforming into a warm man and cooking delicious food for Maki spread throughout the Sunagakure camp. Everyone was very happy to hear such an interesting gossip. Perhaps during the Cruel War, such a romantic thing could happen, which would be enough to relieve the current tense atmosphere on Sunagakure's side. The second cake that Shiraishi had just saved was tried by Ibizo and Ye Cang. Compared to Ye Cang, Ibizo, an older man, seemed to like desserts more. Later, Kikyo rarely spent some leisure time. When Shiraishi was recovering from his injuries, he mainly cooked the rolls. Of course, during this process, Ibizo, Hayakura and the others often went over to try Shiraishi's various desserts. However, when Shiraishi was alone at night, he continued to conduct various special trainings, which mainly included special training on flying water shuriken and black mist. When the strange black mist in the sky surrounded Shiraishi's body, the flying water shuriken was quickly projected. During the training process, Shiraishi unexpectedly discovered that the combination of his round pupils and flying water shuriken would make his hit rate and projection speed faster, and he could almost achieve instantaneous projection, which was very powerful. Shiraishi attaches more importance to the use of curse spells than other spells. However, the proficiency level is always within the 0.05% area, and Shiraishi can hardly successfully cast the spell. This is the first time he has encountered this strange situation. After completing the 15 seal gestures bit by bit, Shiraishi once again mobilized the chakra in his body. However, a strong, strange, dark and negative emotion instantly poured into Shiraishi's body. The cells in his body could hardly withstand this overbearing power, and blood dripped from the corners of his mouth. There have been countless failures. Every time the curse is cast, this powerful negative emotional energy washes over the whole body. The heavy pressure makes Shiraishi almost unable to move. Perhaps the reason why the so-called curse slows down the speed is because the oppression of negative emotions causes the whole body to be restrained and cannot be used, and the speed and movement become very slow. Konoha, in the huge hall, the third Hokage looked seriously at the card that had turned into scrap metal and a shockingly huge hole in the scrap metal. During this period of time, Konoha's investigation has been unable to continue because all clues are clueless, whether it is the attack on the mysterious person in the perception class or the loss of the card's indestructible properties. The force that attacked the perception class should also be the one who holds the key to destroying the card. In any case, judging from the current conditions, Konoha does not believe that a teenager mastering such a powerful secret technique can destroy cards. Obviously this is just the usual method of this group of people. Hiruzen, what are you hesitating about? Seeing the third Hokage deep in thought, Danzo was a little dissatisfied and asked what on earth was worth hesitating about. Danzo, do you remember the death of your teacher in the First Ninja World War? After the death of the first Hokage, Tobirama, as the second Hokage of Konoha Ninja Village in the Country of Fire, and the second Raikage of the Cloud Ninja Village in the Country of Thunder were mobilized at the alliance ceremony. The Gold and Silver Horn brothers of the coup d'etat made a sneak attack point. When Tobirama led his men on a mission, the Golden Horn and Silver Horns pursued him. In order for his subordinates to ambush the enemy's Golden Horn and Silver Horn troops, Tobirama decided to use himself as a bait to contain the enemy, and awarded the position of the third Hokage to Seru. Fenihao fought alone, and eventually died. That period was the darkest period of Konoha. Looking back on that period, after the two looked at each other, Danzo quickly understood what the third Hokage meant. Do you mean that this time is the same as that time? The death of the second Hokage is very strange. Although the Gold and Silver Horns are very powerful, as the strongest person in the Senju clan second only to the first Hokage, he should not die. In fact, according to the intelligence of the two people, the second Hokage was enduring the battle with the two men. They encountered an assassination attempt by an unknown masked man. Over the years, Yu has read books www.wakanshu.net. There has always been an invisible force in the ninja world, trying to guide changes in the structure of the ninja world. The third generation of Hokage is in his position, so he is naturally keenly aware of this undercurrent. Although he has been investigating, there has been no obvious clue. I just hope this isn't a coincidence. A few days later, when Shiraishi had basically recovered from his physical injuries and Ibizo had basically assisted Yakura in stabilizing the situation on Mount Kakayo, Sunagakure began to send out a large number of letters summoning Ibizo to return. We have to prepare to go back. We have to take the next step. The fact that the war between Sunagakure and Konoha has reached this point has actually surprised Iwagakure and Kirigakure. Sunagakure will inevitably face a more serious situation in the future. Therefore, Ibizo must rush back to Sunagakure and formulate a plan with Rasa and Chiyo. One step in the direction, but also to protect Shiraishi. On the battlefield of Konoha, he showed great power, and even the perception class was destroyed by him. The roots of Konoha and all the Anbu forces will focus on Shiraishi, so Ibizo planned to let Shiraishi return to the village to recuperate for a period of time. After all, the special training between master and apprentice is not over yet. Regarding the matter of returning to Sunagakure village, Shiraishi was not only a little reluctant to give up the scroll, but also preferred to return to Sunagakure in other aspects. Because some time ago, Shirogakiji told him that there seemed to be something wrong with the deep sea mithril weapon that he had previously commissioned Mr. Shirogaki Shunbasa to build. == AS of chapter 50. The ninjutsu and skills Shiraishi has mastered: ninjutsu, wind release, beast wave palm, earth clone, earth release, earth style, 3 talent formation skills, high speed movement, telekinesis, treasure gathering technique, IAI/ whirlwind/ round pupils, sand gathering technique, bubble, black mist, flying water shuriken. Curse. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.